Husband wanted to re-gift the anniversary gift that I bought to him. My 26 female, husband 31 male, is very specific. So getting a gift for him was always a nightmare. We were together for almost 5 years, married for 2. Our second anniversary was a few days ago. I put so much effort into his gift. He's a die-hard fan of one football club. He really loves it and buys a lot of merch. I was looking for something that he doesn't have, and found a 3D puzzle set of that club's stadium. It has 200 pieces, and it takes 2 to 3 hours to put it together. It was expensive AF, but I knew that he would like it, so I ordered it. I even put my mum's address for delivery in case that he was at home when it arrived, so he doesn't spoil the surprise. And I was right. He was happy as a child when he saw it. He told me that he will put it together with his nephew, who is 9 male, who also loves that club. Well, the nephew came today and they were playing with it, talking about the club. Then my husband pulled me aside and asked if he should give it to his nephew because he liked it. I was like, what the hell? I told him, do whatever you want, I don't care. But he could see that I was pissed. He didn't re-gift it, but he promised the kid that he would get him the same. But the little guy didn't ask for it, and he didn't even tell us he likes it. After the nephew went home, I told my husband that I put so much effort into his gift when he is a literal nightmare for gifts, that I spent so much time to find him something mindful, and I'm really hurt that he even thought about re-gifting it to anyone. He got defensive, told me that he, the nephew, is a child and would love to have it, and that I'm massively overreacting. He also thinks that I'm emotional because of my pregnancy hormones. I'm 10 weeks pregnant with our second child. I don't think that I'm overreacting because my feelings are really hurt and his actions are shitty. I told him he could offer to buy him another one in the first place. Am I really overreacting, or is this a shitty thing to even think about? In the comments, Elix Fictitious says, "That is so ungrateful and thoughtless. I'd be pissed, but at least he asked you first instead of just gifting it. That demonstrates a bit of common sense. It might help in future to have a discussion about what gifting should be like going forward, given that he's already difficult and didn't seem to appreciate your effort even when you got it right. Does he care about gifts? It might be easier to compromise on giving him only money or food." OP says, "Well, it makes the situation kinda better, but I'm still pissed. He likes gifts, but he's kinda difficult. Like he only wears X brand of clothes, only Y perfumes, Z books, etc. So the solution would be to always give him the same stuff, which I don't like. He doesn't want to take money from me, and when I asked him to try something in the store, he doesn't feel like it. He really liked this one, so I'm even more pissed that he wanted to give it away." Net Junkie asks, "Does he want gifts? Does he expect them? I'm really hard to buy for, so my wife knows I don't expect gifts. Go make me a pie or something that I'll love. No need to put effort into buying me something that I may or may not want anyway." OP says, "Well, a few months ago he got a hoodie from his sister. I know he loved it, and it fits him like a glove. Later, he told me not to wash it because he might re-gift it to someone else. I was like, why would you do it if you like it? Also, he's a big and tall guy. He doesn't have any friend or family member his size, so like, who are you even going to gift it to? He wears it now, and said he would regret it if he gave it to someone else." Freely Ouija Board says, "This tells me a lot. First of all, it's obvious you each have a different emotional circuitry around gift giving, which is normal. I grew up in a family that loved through materialism and put our heart and soul into gifts. We also got our sense of worthiness, love, and appreciation from the recipient's reaction. I have felt the devastation of someone regifting something that I got them, and it's a horrible feeling for sure. Explore your own emotions and expectations around gifts, and keep communicating how you feel to him. And he needs to listen and understand how hurtful it is to you. At the same time, he has his own issues. My spouse came from a poorer culture where most consumer goods simply weren't available. Christmas was an orange and handmade socks, and you liked it. Love was about providing for people and helping each other survive. Cue the marriage drama when they weren't as emotive and dramatic and excited about the gifts that I put a lot of thought into, and I received boring practical gifts that were on sale and reflected their interests and idea of good provision, not mine. After over a decade, we both have deeper introspection, therapy, and better communication, and gifts have no pressure whatsoever. We often don't even give them anymore, but this was a huge shift from my culture of origin, and I had to work through my own feelings of not being appreciated or loved just because we had different expectations. There may be a clue in the fact that he would give away something practical like a sweatshirt that he loved that fit him perfectly. If he's quick to re-gift, he may have underlying feelings of unworthiness. Some people are raised that it's better to give than receive, and feel unworthy or selfish if they receive something beyond their habitual class. Subconsciously, they often sabotage efforts that make them feel like they are on the receiving end of charity. He may also have some hang-ups around materialism or having too much stuff. Maybe deep down he feels like it's a child's toy, and he doesn't want to be seen as a child, but a good adult and father figure, the giver of toys, not the receiver. The best thing is for each of you to reflect on your feelings, convictions, and habits around giving and receiving, and their origins, and then share with each other how to define your relationship with gifts on your own terms. Throw out all you learned from your families and friends and decide how you two specifically want to handle holidays in your relationship. And of course, explore deeper personal issues for which gifts are just the tip of the iceberg. You're young, those deep issues can end up solving a ton of problems if dealt with at the root. I'm actually on board with that one, because the sweater comment really did stand out. Why would he want to save that to re-gift if he doesn't know anyone in his life that is even remotely close to the same size as him? That leads me to believe that he thinks of himself as a giver and definitely not a receiver. I am not worthy of having these gifts because that is not my place as a man. It's sad that that is probably the case, at least from my biased point of view, but I don't think it's something that's impossible to work through. I think with some therapy and some honest and open communication about how you feel and why you feel these things, I think they could work through it. I really do think that he can learn to accept getting gifts and being open and clear about what kinds of gifts he's comfortable receiving, especially being someone that is so hard to buy gifts for. And now, onto the update. First of all, I want to thank you all for constructive comments. It helped me get a new perspective. Also, for those guys who called me weird and childish for feeling disrespected, yeah, your comments are shitty. Now, about the update. We talked this morning calmly. I told him how hurt I was when he dismissed my feelings and blamed my pregnancy hormones for them. I explained how I feel when he does that, and that I feel unappreciated, and that he doesn't care about my feelings, while I know he does. He apologized, and I know that it was genuine. He also admitted that his comment about my hormones was rude and unnecessary. He promised that he would be more considerate about my feelings. I apologized for telling him that he's a nightmare and for being passive-aggressive. He told me it's okay, and he wasn't mad for that. About the gift, last night he put it together and was almost late to his night shift. He told me he really loves it and didn't actually want to re-gift it, and then he told me a bit about his upbringing. His mother often re-gifted things that they were gifted, and even those he actually liked, and he hated it. They were not poor, but her policy was, why buy someone a gift when you can re-gift something that you already got? She gave away his stuff until he moved out. Now he feels guilty when he keeps something, even when he likes it, and he knows why that is happening. I remember the time when his mum stayed with us to help while I was postpartum. She was actually helpful, but she also tried to give away some of our stuff to others, and I was really pissed. Like, what gives you the right to give away my shit? I grew up poor, but my parents never pulled shit like this, and when we liked something, we kept it. You know those fancy chocolate boxes that are passed around? Well, we ended up eating them. Meanwhile, we don't give gifts to my mother-in-law anymore because we know that she is going to re-gift them. We just give her money. I told my husband that we will go shopping for his birthday and he will choose his own gift, just to make sure it's something he likes and will actually use. The stadium is now displayed with his other football stuff. Edit. Sorry for not mentioning, but he gave his nephew gifts yesterday. He bought him new shoes because he had good grades, and also new shoes for his little sister, who doesn't go to school yet. He also gave him some money for his upcoming school trip, so I don't think giving him the puzzle set was necessary, at least not on the same day. In the comments, Similar Shame says, quote, his mother often re-gifted things they were gifted, even those he actually liked, and he hated it. Ah, I grew up with parents like this too, and I went the complete other way. I will accept any gift given to me and will stash it away in my hoard, and I will bite anyone who tries to touch them. And everyone knows not to touch my things. How nice, a mother-in-law who wants to look good by giving gifts, but is too cheap to buy them, so she steals other people's stuff. I dated a guy like that once. He always wanted to be the hero, but he had very little to offer himself, so he kept offering up other people to help without asking them. Voluntelling someone they will be doing work for someone else is super easy for the person offering someone else's time and money. Complete entry says, Rage. I spent a lot of my childhood coming home from school to stuff missing. My grandmother would say, you didn't need it. My entire library of books, slowly depleted, later found out that she donated or sold them. And Material Ad replies, I feel so angry for you. It's a real trauma that you never forget. The complete disregard by a supposedly caring adult in your life. I still remember my father giving away my beloved Bugs Bunny stuffed softie. Be well. Damn, I didn't know that this was a universal experience. Sorry about that, besties. You deserved to have your childhood stuff and not just have it disappear on you. In my experience of this, that stuff would disappear, but my memory was really bad at the time, or something was going on that, like, I wouldn't really register that things were just disappearing sometimes. So said object would be gone, and then weeks later I'd be like, wait up. Where'd that go? Why did my Thomas the Tank Engine set just disappear one day? It was right there in the middle of my room, and now it's gone. What happened to that? God, who doesn't love having a core childhood memory brought right back up? So I get it. It really sucks. And I hope that OP's husband can undo some of that trauma from his mother just gifting everything of his that he loved and cherished as a child. Thank you for the story, OP. I hope you two continue to grow from this point forward. Would I be the arsehole if I stopped supporting my disabled father over his preferential treatment towards my siblings? I, 26 male, have two sisters who are 18 and 23 from the same mum and dad who are in their 50s. When I was 16, my parents went through a messy divorce which resulted in my sisters staying with my mum and I stayed with my dad. My dad is disabled and has been unable to work due to a long list of medical issues since I was 16. He has kidney failure and is currently on dialysis while waiting for a transplant. This has meant that I've been looking after him in a variety of caretaker ways for a decade now. Throughout this time, his contact with my two sisters has been minimal. He has in the past allowed my eldest sister to claim benefits that she was not entitled to by claiming to be a carer for my father, amongst others. She has at no point in her life provided care for my dad. This caused many fights between my dad and I, as I felt he was allowing her to commit fraud just so that he could feel like he was helping her. I was recently contacted by his doctor, who told me that my dad was no longer on the transplant list to receive the kidney transplant that he needs. Apparently his health is now so poor that they don't know for sure if he'll survive general anesthetic for the operation. I was told that a major factor for this was his poor diet, which was exacerbating his existing health issues. Hearing this, my wife and I decided to move back in with my dad to try to get him onto a healthier diet to hopefully prepare his body for the transplant that he needs. After we moved in, I was going through his most recent letters when I discovered a letter informing him that my younger sister had applied for a grant for young carers as a result of caring for him. My dad is lucky to see my sister once a month, let alone the 16 hours a week this grant requires. I confronted him, and he said that he was just trying to help her out in any way that he could. This again led to a massive fight, as currently me and my wife are the only family members supporting him. My sisters do nothing for him. They are both adults, and yet neither have lifted a single finger once to help him. And yet, here he is again, essentially committing fraud to help them out. We can't help but feel taken for granted and simply unappreciated. We do everything we possibly can for him, sacrifice our time, energy, and money to ensure that he has a more comfortable life, but time and time again, he chooses to focus his energy on helping my sisters cheat their way to funds and benefits that they don't deserve. He has never once asked them to help him, so the burden of responsibility for his care rests entirely on our shoulders, despite the fact that of the 3 siblings, I am the only one not currently receiving any benefit related to his care. We are now at the point where we're considering pulling all our support, financial and physical, and leaving his care entirely to the 2 women who are actually benefiting from providing it, quote-unquote. Would I be the asshole for withdrawing support from my father? In the comments, as someone who is highly familiar with this family dynamic and has read a lot of books about this, let me rephrase the question. Would I be the asshole if I withdraw my unappreciated long-term support for my dad, who has been deliberately neglecting me the entire time while passing all my benefits to my absent but entitled siblings who don't even see him often? Not the asshole. It is not your fault that he is knowingly applying double standards, rewarding the neglect of his favorites and grooming them to be entitled, and punishing and invalidating the sacrifice of his designated scapegoat. He cannot have it both ways. It's time to set things straight. 1. If he truly appreciates your efforts, then he should have given the benefits to you, or 2. If he wants to give the benefit to others, then you should pass the responsibility to them. The ones who answered "you're the asshole" or "everyone sucks here" are probably not from toxic families with toxic parents who are neglecting, but are quick to demand the scapegoat child's perfection and time, energy, and money. It is easy to use compassion in taking care of the elderly to guilt someone else into staying in the unfair setup when it doesn't involve any sacrifice on your part. Belligerent Drunk Girl says, according to OP, they do not qualify for these benefits regardless, and did get them when they qualified for them. OP replies, as you may have seen in some of my other comments, there is one benefit that I would benefit greatly from that he instead gives to my sister, a Motability car. This ends up costing us hundreds more pounds per month than it otherwise would. But you're correct that currently I do not qualify for any of these benefits, age and income, but I did in the past. The issue is more around the last commenter's second point. If they get the benefit for helping him, they should help him. A deleted commenter says, OP, you've spent a decade of your life helping your dad and have gotten nothing in return, even though you could have qualified for various benefits over the years. Move on, because you've sacrificed enough. How much farther could you be in your life, working towards your goals, had you not been forced into an uncompensated carer position as a literal child? How much farther could you be if you had at least gotten any of the compensation that you had qualified for? It's time to make up for lost time and focus on you and your wife and your life. Don't feel an ounce of guilt because you've given a priceless gift in putting him first for all of those years. Not the asshole. I don't think you want to stop looking after your dad here, and that is completely understandable. If I were in your shoes too, I probably wouldn't want to stop caring for him because I would regret it if he died and I just walked out on him like that. That's what I'm going to assume the situation is, because from how you're writing it, it doesn't sound like you're ready to just put everything down and walk away. Because realistically, there's not that much time left anyway. If we're going for equality, if we're going for fairness, I think you pressure him to stop her getting those benefits, or you get her to reroute a significant chunk of those benefits to you somehow, some way. Regardless of what the solution is and where to go from here, you're not the asshole in this situation, and you cannot be the asshole given what you have done so far. I think anyone giving an "everyone sucks here" or "you're the asshole" judgment to you for this one live under a rock, are probably 15 years old, and have no life experience, and they have no idea what it's like to be in your shoes, so I don't think you should take those opinions seriously. I think you're doing the best with what you've got, and I don't think you are wrong for the choices you've made, so absolutely not the asshole. And now, on to the update. I remembered this post as my dad's birthday had recently passed, and I thought that I might as well give an update, even though no one asked. In January 2023, my father passed away from complete kidney failure. It wasn't a surprise to me. His health had been in decline, and a transplant wasn't going to happen. The rest of the family, though, were shocked. The last time he spoke to anyone, I showed him the 7-week scan of my now 2-year-old son and his first and only grandchild. We had rushed to get the earliest scan that we could, knowing he didn't have much time. My son looked like a seahorse tadpole. He cried when I showed him, and we had a short talk about fatherhood before exhaustion took over. He fell asleep, and he never woke up. I asked him not to tell anyone since we were still early and we didn't want to jinx it. He said, "I'll take it to the grave," and passed away 3 days later. He kept his word. I think seeing the scan and having that moment made him die happy. As for my sisters, they never changed. I let it go. I knew I couldn't change my dad, and he was on borrowed time. For his birthday that year, we rented a canal boat since he'd always wanted one. He crashed it almost immediately. They gave him less and less consideration, ignoring him completely on what turned out to be his last birthday. No visit, no call, not even a text. He was devastated and reduced contact with them, though he never stopped helping them financially. When they found out that he was dying, they rushed to his side and stayed until he passed. But like before, it was too little too late. He was already unconscious. They hadn't shown urgency when he was first admitted, only showing up when I told them that he had chosen to end life support. I'd been told the day he was admitted, over 2 weeks earlier, that he might not survive. I believed it. I'd seen him in these situations before, and this time felt different. The rest of the family still thought he would recover and didn't treat him as a priority. Eventually, my dad asked me if he was dying. Everyone else had been giving him false hope, mostly for themselves, so I had to tell him, "Yeah, you're gonna die soon." And that was not an easy conversation. He passed surrounded by family who barely gave him their time when he was alive. My sisters definitely regret how they treated him, but it's too late. We were civil at the funeral, but we haven't spoken since. I scattered my share of his ashes at the end of the canal that he never got to see. My sisters turned theirs into jewelry. I miss him every day, especially as his grandson looks so much like him. It's a shame that things never got resolved with his daughters while he was alive, but I think he died a happy man, and that is enough for me. In the comments, Teruiel says, "I'm glad that OP was still there for his father at the end. For his sake more than anyone's. He won't have to struggle in the same way as the rest of the family. I am also livid on his behalf that his father allowed his daughters to defraud the programs that exist to help people in these circumstances, though I understand the why. He had lingering guilt about how the divorce played out. However, it's fraud like that which causes these things to lose funding, which in turn hurts others. I'm not sure that it was lingering guilt. I think he'd hoped to buy their favor and thought that if he funneled money their way, they would finally give him the time of day. I was waiting for him to say that the sisters sued him for the house and his entire estate, even though OP lived there and cared for his father, basically giving up his life for his dad while they did nothing. I figured they would descend like vultures before the ashes were cooled. Well, given that OP said they lived in poverty and off of benefits for the last decade or more, I'm guessing there wasn't an estate to fight over, or at least, not much of one. Sad one to end on, and that is probably the case, because I have no doubt those two sisters would have descended on that property like vultures, as said. It's incredibly predictable behavior. It is sad and depraved behavior, but it is what it is. These people are all the same, and they're not going to change. No matter what you say to them, no matter what you try to do, I genuinely don't think there was anything OP or the father could have done to break them from their chains, their shackles of shitty entitled behavior. It's sad that it had to end this way, but I'm glad that OP didn't give up on his dad. It was just a no-win situation for him to be stuck in. In a perfect world, he would have gone after those two and stopped the benefits, but I imagine that would have caused more trouble than it was worth, and would have damaged his relationship with his dad in the dad's last days. That's why I think it's a no-win situation, because I don't think that would have been productive. It would have upset him before he died, and OP would have regretted that, and yeah, I wouldn't want to be in that situation if I was OP. Sorry to anyone that's listening that has been through similar situations as this. I know it's not easy to deal with, and it can get even messier than whatever OP was dealing with, so my heart goes out to you for that. Thank you for coming back and updating us on what happened, OP. I hope all is well going forward, and I hope your sisters have some change of heart or some karma meets them somewhere. Who knows? Our next post is by user Best Host, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for calling my wife a jerk for telling our son's crush that our son likes her in front of his friends? I, 37 male, have 3 kids, 14 male, 11 female, and 8 female, with my wife, 37 female. Our son, who we'll call Sonny, is in grade 9. My wife has been asking him if he's into this girl in grade 10, Tina, 15 female, who he's been hanging out with. Sonny said that it's not her who he likes. It's a different girl, a 9th grader who we'll call Chris, 14 female. My wife asked Sonny if Chris knows. He said no, and that it's a secret. My wife asked why. He said that his friends will make fun of him. My wife again asks why. He said it's because Chris is the heaviest girl in their grade, she has terrible skin, and she's a tomboy. One Saturday, Sonny had friends over. It was Sonny plus 5 other boys, with Chris, Tina, and another girl. At one point, my wife just walks into the living room and tells Chris that Sonny has a huge crush on her. It was so uncomfortable after that. Chris got up and just walked out of the house. The kids barely said anything, and they left earlier than expected. Sonny didn't say anything to me, nor his mum, but he made sure to slam every door that he used. Later that night, in bed, I called my wife a jerk. She said she was just trying to prevent our son from becoming a bully. I told her that there was a better way, and she then asked what if one of our daughters were in Chris's position. Then she asked if we went to the same high school, would I hide my feelings for her? She ended up sleeping in the guest bedroom. Am I the asshole? Edit. A sad update. This information is sad, and the fact that I had to hear about this from Tina's mum is sad. To nobody's surprise, Chris was indeed humiliated. Chris at first thought that it was a cruel prank, and then when Sonny confirmed it, she questioned why his mum would announce it like that in front of all their friends. Sonny took the honest route, and he told Chris why he didn't want to tell her. Chris's feelings are hurt. She said she can't like someone who was so embarrassed for people to know that he likes her. So our son is even more upset with us. What my wife did showed my son in a bad light to most of his friends. Some of them thought that it was a prank. Some of them think something is wrong with my wife mentally. The people who my son are talking to the most about this situation are Tina and Tina's mum. In the comments, Wintonen says, "Your wife needs to stop being so nosy and annoying. She's a 37-year-old woman behaving like an annoying 12-year-old, not the asshole." The son shared something he felt was embarrassing with his parents. That shows trust. She just shit all over that trust. If I were in the son's shoes, I would be furious and would likely never trust mum the same as before that. I'd never forget that humiliation. Bullying her own child as a lesson against bullying? Insanity. I know I would absolutely never trust my mum again. Not the asshole. Did you point out to your wife that Chris walked out because she thought your wife was bullying her? That outing the crush doesn't come off as a nice thing, but a mocking one? Her behavior was typical high school mean girl. OP replies, "Wait, I never thought of that. Do you really think that Chris thought that a woman in her 30s was bullying her?" Bippity Boppity replies, "A woman in her 30s was bullying her, for F's sake. She was bullying her and your son. Your wife is a flaming, gaping asshole. Adult woman bullies the unattractive girl in high school. If I were Chris's father and she told me what happened, Chris wouldn't be coming over to your house anymore. And I would tell her how wrong it was that your wife treated my daughter that way. It would be a lesson for my daughter to not allow terrible people to be a part of her life. That's another point. Opie's wife almost certainly ruined her son's friendship with Chris, and thus any chance they might eventually grow closer. Not the asshole. Your son is a kid. He's very sensitive to social pressures from friends, even if incorrect. Long term, however, your wife's actions will make him unlikely to confide in you guys ever again, which is a much bigger issue and totally valid from his perspective. This essentially is the worst strategy that she could have done to teach him a lesson or help him emotionally mature. Also, it's stupid. He wasn't being a bully. He was just keeping his feelings to himself due to peer pressure. He was still friends with Chris and hanging out with her. I would never want to tell anyone anything again after this betrayal. Poor kid. I'm going to go out on a limb and say that OP probably hasn't experienced a situation like this before, so doesn't recognize that it is in fact bullying, and probably doesn't consider his wife a bully. So yes, while OP called the wife a jerk for saying this, he probably just thought that she was doing a bit of playful teasing and not genuinely being a harassing negative force. She was being a bully, and she is a bad person for doing what she was doing. That would be a little bit world-shattering, being like, oh my god, is my wife an asshole? Is my wife actually a terrible person right now? And yeah, she is. She is. And you're not an asshole for pointing that out. As other people also pointed out, good luck with him trusting you with more dangerous situations that may come up in the future with him. This is going to be doing so much more harm than good. I hope that you can nip this in the bud and get his trust back. That will require quite a bit of work, so good luck, and you're not the asshole for doing that. And now, on to the update. So, I have some good news and some bad news. My wife has read the original post, the edits, and all of my comments. I also showed my wife some specific comments. She read a ton of comments on her own. I don't know if she'll read this update post, because she says she hates Reddit and will never go back on Reddit for as long as she lives. However, she did agree to individual therapy and couples therapy. Back in middle school and high school, my wife was bullied a lot for her weight and acne. She still struggles with her weight and acne. I think she looks beautiful. What I've seen from her personality recently is another story. Last night, my wife said that Sonny had body-shamed Chris when he gave the reason why his friends were making fun of him for liking Chris. To my wife, Sonny merely acknowledging that Chris is heavy and has acne is body-shaming, even though he also calls her pretty. My wife said that she told Chris that Sonny likes her in front of everyone because my wife was afraid that if Sonny keeps his feelings for Chris a secret, that he'll end up with his friend Tina, 15 female. I've been learning a lot about what's going on in our son's social circle. Not from my son, but from Tina's mum. The thing said, my son gave Tina's mum permission to tell me. Tina has been working hard to fix her friend group. Tina has convinced Chris to forgive my son and to go on a date with him. Also, when the friend group wants a house to hang out at, they'll do it at Tina's house. None of the kids want to come near my wife. One of the boys who were there that day told his parents, and now he's not even allowed to go to our house. Tina's mum said that her house is always welcome to my son if he needs a place to stay. I made sure to quickly tell my wife that Sonny and Chris will go on a date later in the week. I wasn't sure what my wife's reaction would be, and I wanted to get it over with before our son came home. My wife basically said she told me so. She said Reddit and I were wrong. My wife is claiming victory for getting Sonny and Chris together. My wife claims that our son will thank her later. My wife is living in her own little world. This evening, I finally had a significant conversation with my son. During the conversation, he wasn't referring to his mum as mum, nor my mum, but your wife. Damn, your wife really messed up, hey OP. He said when he wants to talk to an adult about stupid teenager stuff, he'll talk to Tina's mum. Sonny said that he doesn't want to tell me something, then give me the burden of keeping it a secret from my wife. Our son is continuing his radio silence with his mum. When I think of my wife's well-being, I have to look at it in the context of co-parent instead of my life partner. I need to watch her and make sure that I will protect our kids from her if needed. She was a stable mum, but somehow she's morphed into some bratty teenager upon hearing some teenage drama. I hope my wife gets stable again, but my kids are and will be my number one. In the comments, Conscious Arm says, Sunny and Chris are going on a date despite your wife's actions, not because of your wife. And your wife has lost Sunny. He'll never go to her with something personal again for as long as he lives. Unfortunately, it also looks like you've been hit in the crossfire, and he won't tell you much going forward either. Your wife has permanently damaged or ruined her relationship with Sunny. I hope she's proud of herself. Yeah, it's heartbreaking to see how deep the damage goes. She thinks that she helped, but all she really did was make sure that he'll never trust her again, and now the fallout is hitting everyone. That's what false ego does to us. She thinks she won because they're going on a date, but hasn't yet realized that her son now hates her. Oh, she won all right. Her son hates her, Chris hates her, Tina hates her, the entire friend group hates her, all the parents hate her. The only thing that she won was a one-way trip to the nursing home from Happy Gilmore. Your fingers hurt? Well, now your back's going to hurt because you just pulled landscaping duty. I still stand by the fact that she is a bad person, and there is no excuse for it. There's an explanation in that she was projecting her insecurities from high school, but any normal person will let go of those insecurities and not let it eat them up upon hearing new teenage drama entering their life indirectly. She was not involved in any of this, and she decided to get involved because she can't help herself. There is no excuse for that. She is a bad person, and she needs to change her ways. But it's not going to happen, so she will not be a part of your son's life anymore in any emotionally intimate capacity. Crazy how the consequences of one's actions can come back and bite them. What a weird world we live in, huh? What? I was an asshole and they still succeeded in spite of my actions? Despite my actions? Yeah, I'm a true hero right here. I'm going to pat myself on the back. Seems like some of that commentary from OP in this situation too shows that he realizes what a bad person she is morphed into all of a sudden. Maybe this is some childhood trauma springing up, but you gotta recognize that and stop yourself from talking absolute shit. You're not absolved from the hurt that you pass down to your son if you can't control yourself projecting your childhood or teenagehood trauma. That's simply not cool. Anyway, sometimes the snark doesn't come out as sarcasm. Sometimes it comes out as, I do not like these people. They upset me. And that would be because they are upsetting me. And you guys like to hear my opinion, so there you go. Thanks for listening, guys. Am I the asshole for not wanting my fiance's ex-fiance at our wedding? So here we go. I want to start off with saying I'm not sure if I've loved anyone quite this much before, and I have been married before, but never felt this type of compatibility or connection before until all of that came crashing down a couple of weeks ago. My partner is friends with almost all of their exes, and I'm totally okay with it because I'm not a crazy, jealous psycho, and they've all been nothing but very nice and respectful to me, super friendly, and they all have their own partners and lives figured out, apart from my partner's ex-fiancé. They were together for almost 10 years, but never got married due to some family drama from the ex-fiancé's side. My partner has gone on to say, and to reiterate a couple of times, that they were so in love, so into each other, and would have still been together if it wasn't for this particular family drama. They also broke up almost 3 years before we got together. However, they were still sleeping together that whole time, up until a month before my partner met me. This already rang alarm bells when I heard it, but I shrugged it off because I thought that it was my past experiences and my traumas talking through me, and not common sense. I try to be very mindful of giving people their own space and letting them be themselves fully, speaking how they want to, and to be authentic. However, I would still be with my ex if not for this one thing. It is not pleasant to hear, but I figured they just had a super strong, loving bond, and okay. I moved on. I never made any problems out of them being friends. I even tried a few times to reach out to this ex myself to become friendly. I sent them a couple of memes and tried to strike up small talk a few times on my own initiative, but they've always been super weird with me, making strange, flirty comments to my partner when they've been speaking on the phone, for example, or being condescending about me and my family. I don't want to go into too much detail about what they said to not make myself identifiable, but I gave them grace and 3 chances to become friends. They blew them all by completely disrespecting me and my relationship. This ex even implied that they talk with my partner secretly when I'm at work, probably to get a reaction out of me to see if I'll bite. I blocked them everywhere. My partner knows this, but I'm okay with them still being friends if that's what my partner wants. I'm cool with it as long as I don't have to be forced to be friends with this ex, because I have no reason to do that after how they treated me. My partner said they understand and were cool with that. They said they don't want to choose my friends for me, just like they wouldn't want me choosing theirs. And that's fair. Anytime they speak on the phone, they run to the other side of the garden, start wandering around aimlessly to get away from me, and it just seems avoidant, like they don't want me to hear them talking, and I was okay with that too. Everyone has a right to private conversations, and I get it. Okay, so maybe I stopped being super enthusiastic about this person and stopped asking, how is so-and-so, after they spoke on the phone or whatever, stopped wanting to become acquainted, however, still remained completely civil, said hi when I had the chance, and was polite as required. All was great until the final blow-up came. My partner asked me if they could invite their ex-fiancé to our wedding. I was shocked, and I couldn't answer. I said I would think about it, but I'm honestly so fucking hurt that they would even ask me that, knowing that I have their ex blocked, and knowing how they disrespected me and made me feel like an outsider in our own relationship. I am absolutely gutted. What makes it even worse is the way that they phrased it. I would love to invite ex to our wedding. They're my friend and I have a sentiment towards them. I will completely understand if you don't want them there, and I will absolutely respect that decision. But I would like them to come. At first, I was sad and enraged. If you will completely understand and respect that I don't want them there, then you've just answered your own question, have you not? I feel like a deer in the headlights. This has completely killed my excitement for the wedding, and it's made it hard to even think about. In previous relationships, my boundaries were violated to quite an extreme extent, and my partner knows this. The wedding that I had before was a sham. It wasn't mine, it wasn't how I wanted, I had to compromise a lot and do things in spite of myself back then. It was awful. Not only the wedding, but the whole marriage. Both me and my ex contributed to that fact. I've taken full accountability for my part in it, and I've gone through extensive psychotherapy to learn to love myself again and set healthy boundaries, speak up for myself, and be assertive, among other things. I've been in that healthy space for over 3 years now. However, after hearing that question, I feel like I've taken 100 steps back, and the ache is so deep that it's giving me cold feet about the whole wedding. I feel small and insignificant, like an afterthought, a plaster for an ache of an unrequited love, like an effing second choice. I love my partner completely, and I want them to be happy. That's why I think if they really want their ex to be there, and it means a lot to them, then they should be able to do that. However, I also love myself and want to put my peace and well-being first. So I am totally stuck. On one hand, I think I have a right to feel how I feel. On the other hand, I don't want to seem totally unreasonable. I am not, and never have been, the type to give any ultimatums. I would never say it's either me or them. But at this point, I don't think I can do it. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. And if I get none, at least it feels good to write it down and get it off my chest to process it before I ultimately have to talk to my partner about it. I don't want to lose them, but I also don't want to lose myself again in the name of love. I'm happy to never get married again if that's what it takes to keep myself and my boundaries intact. I'm done being a pushover. Am I the asshole? In the comments, your first mistake was entering a relationship with someone who is friends with all their exes. Seriously, 1 or 2, but all of them? The second mistake was carrying on a relationship with someone who was best friends with an ex that they were banging up until a month before they met you. Third mistake, and biggest, was getting engaged. Your partner and the ex are either still banging or will give in to temptation at some point. Save yourself the pain and end this. They're laughing in your face right now. The fact this ex was brazen enough to taunt tells me that they are still intimate, and I don't care what you think. My partner has gone on to say and reiterate a couple of times that they were so in love, so into each other, and would still have been together if it wasn't for this particular family drama. They also broke up almost 3 years before we got together, but were still sleeping together that whole time up until a month before my partner met me. You should have been running for the hills the minute that you heard this, instead of bending over backwards to accommodate this foolishness. But you love them so much, right? Yeah, good luck with that. OP says, the bluntness of this reply hit me in the face and woke me up a little bit. Thank you so much for this. Another commenter says, you know the way they feel about him? That seems to be how he feels about her. I'm so sorry. OP says, wow. A gut-wrenching but much-needed and sobering kick in the face. Thank you for this. The harshest truths always land the hardest. When someone tells OP that they need to reconsider her relationship with their fiancé if they aren't standing up for OP, OP says, the one time my partner defended me was when this ex made a comment along the lines of, oh, your partner, me, is home? I thought you only called me when she was at work, hehehe. They made light and jokes of it while on the phone. My partner said, oh, that's just how she is. She has blunt, rude humor. But I was very upset about it, and only then did my partner call up the ex and tell her that it was messed up what she said and that it wasn't a funny joke. She reached out with a half-assed reply on Instagram, which I accepted, but was always wary of her after. And she's made more stupid, disrespectful comments since then. Then I blocked her. Another commenter asks, are you totally sure your fiancé isn't still having sex with this ex? They're clearly prioritizing the ex over you. That would be relationship ending. OP says, the ex lives on the other side of the country. Thankfully. They last saw each other when they had sex a month before I met my partner. They haven't seen each other since, as far as I know, of course. Another commenter asks, so is this family thing still an issue? Could they be together or not? OP says, the family thing was that the ex's mother was very overbearing and the sole decision-maker in the relationship. The ex was a mummy's girl and didn't take my partner's opinion into consideration if the mother dearest said so. What's stopping the ex from finally realizing she's not going to marry her mother, and what's to say that realization won't conveniently come when I'm walking down the aisle? The sheer idea of her being at our wedding has made me question if this is the right thing to do. Thankfully, we haven't booked the venue yet, and since that stupid question, I've stopped looking and planning altogether. It just really feels like the more you dig into this situation, the worse it gets. It's just more and more embarrassing the more that she admits to. And it's not a dig at OP for saying that. It's just like, man, how can people get so defensive and so in denial of their own reality around them? Like, how does it become such a problem that you ignore blatant things that if you were to see it from the other side, from my perspective, you'd be like, Jesus Christ, you put up with a lot, didn't you? That's crazy. I actually don't see this relationship lasting. Like, there's so much disrespect from OP's partner and the fiancé's ex-fiancé constantly towards you. How can you just continue a relationship with someone that allows their ex-fiancé to do that? It's so stupid to even say, how could you allow their ex-fiancé to treat you like that? What the hell is she doing in your life in the first place? What's going on? There's so many stupid realities that I have to accept on the way to this thought process that it pains me to even say, why is your fiancé's ex-fiancé openly disrespecting you to your face like that? Like, no. If it were me, I would hope that there were so many steps before this that I shut down so that that sentence never becomes a thing. I really hate, but also love, that there are so many new sentences that I get to say that are so insane, unhinged, and deranged as a result of situations like this. Again, not a dig at OP, but that sentence being a thing means you did drop the ball multiple times before arriving at this destination, and that is where we come in and say, hey, you gotta cut that shit out in the future. That ain't acceptable. You need to stop that. Don't allow it to go on this long, please. And now, on to the update. I mustered up the courage to speak to my fiancé today after all of your heartfelt comments, all the great advice and encouragement, even in the form of harsh, cold truths. Therefore, I have to start by saying a massive thank you to everyone who contributed something to the post. It validated my feelings and helped me not feel so alone with my thoughts. I appreciate every single one of you. I couldn't sleep last night after reading a few of your comments. They were very hard-hitting and made me reconsider not only my behavior and thought patterns, but my values as well. Because although I had strong moral values, I was not upholding them at all by not speaking up for myself. That changed today. I woke up and knew that I couldn't hold it in any longer and had to let it flow out naturally, just like in my original post. I mentioned the disrespect, the lack of communication between me and the ex, despite my previous gentle efforts, the stupid, jealous, flirtatious jokes from her. I laid it all out on the table. My voice was shaking, but I got out everything I needed to get off my chest and then some. In the heat of the moment, I even concluded with, I love you so much that I want you to have the wedding of your dreams. I already had one that wasn't mine. I know how much that sucks, and I wouldn't want to wish it on you. That's why if it means that much for you for her to be at the wedding, then I'm willing to set you free and hope you'll have a very lovely celebration without me. Of course, I ended up shedding a few tears, but they were met with complete consolation, consideration, and empathy. I was reassured, comforted, and I felt heard, which is what I desperately needed. As many of you correctly pointed out in the comments, I'm someone that always wants to be the most accommodating person to the people I love. Sometimes even to my own detriment, which I was able to recognize again through this situation. It's something that I worked through in therapy before, thought I succeeded, but healing isn't linear, and sometimes old patterns creep back when we feel the most vulnerable. I can fully admit this happened. My fiancé asked me why I never made it obvious that I don't like her, why I acted so cool about it. To tell you all the truth, my partner is right. I didn't overly let it show that I don't like her, other than blocking her everywhere. My partner claims they didn't realize that I still had her blocked and thought that I didn't because I didn't act like I hate her, out of respect for my partner. But in that way, I disrespected myself and my own boundaries. I was honest in my reply. If she's your friend and you guys are cool, and I love you and want you to be happy, then why would I hate on your friend to your face? My fiancé looked at me completely puzzled and said, well, because you're the most important person to me, and how you feel is my absolute priority. I didn't realize you were so uncomfortable with her. I'm so sorry that I didn't see it, and was oblivious. I will do absolutely anything for you to feel like you're my number one, because you are. She will not attend our wedding, she won't be in the picture, I love you. They also questioned me on why I didn't react straight away when the question about her attending was asked. Why I didn't just burst out with, "Are you kidding me right now?" And I explained that I wanted to think it through, I wanted so badly for it to be okay, but it just isn't, and I don't want her at the wedding. I can't have someone present that I feel holds animosity towards me and our relationship. I have too much respect for myself. The reply that I got made me very happy. I totally understand that, and I agree with you. I get it, and I'm sorry, but next time please just don't bottle anything in. I want you to feel safe. About the phone calls, my partner didn't bore me with the ex's crap, trivial small talk, and her complaining about stuff. I want to believe it. It seemed very genuine, but I'm still giving it time. And for those wondering about if the wedding plans are commencing, they aren't for now, but may again in the future if all goes well. I've decided that words aren't enough, and I want to see all of this in action. I want to see clear boundaries put up with the ex. This was the only thing in our relationship that made me uncomfortable. Her being so out of touch, lacking decorum, and disrespecting our union, and my partner being so oblivious to it. They even said that her stupid jokes fell on deaf ears because it was obvious that she was just being jealous and bitter because she hasn't found anyone yet and can see that we are very happy together and have a lot more in common than they ever did. My partner apparently found her jokes quite pathetic and said that she was always a bit rude and tactless, which is something they never liked about her. Sounds a lot different than we'd still be together if it wasn't for her crazy, overbearing mother, but alas, I am giving it a chance. Lesson to take away from this situation for me: continue working on assertiveness and speaking up. This is a gradual process. Don't bottle things in. And that doesn't mean burst out into flames every time an uncomfortable feeling arises, but sit with it for a moment and let it be heard. Always speak your truth no matter the outcome, and if no change is made and the ex reappears with a vengeance, they can have each other. For now, we're going to take things easy while working on patching up this wedge and rebuilding trust. If my partner puts their money where their mouth is, I'm confident we can make this work, and who knows? In a few years, once the ex is happily married too, and everyone knows their place, maybe we can all laugh about this together at a summer barbecue. Maybe not. Once again, thank you all so much for your input and your encouragement, and let's see what the future brings. Much love to you all. In the comments, quote, "Why I never made it obvious that I don't like her. Honestly, I thought you blocking her everywhere should be obvious enough to him on that part, not gonna lie. I'm glad the wedding is on pause, because I don't like how him acting oblivious on everything related to her, running off to the other side of the house while talking on the phone, didn't share with you whatever mundane things they talked about, etc. Her jokes are pathetic, okay, and he still talks to her on the phone. He didn't exactly reassure you that they are truly just friends, and the biggest elephant in the room, his comment about the possibility of them still being together if that one thing is sorted out? Does he still feel that way? While talking about marriage with you? Sure, you should communicate clearly and earlier, but come on now, he can't be that oblivious. OP says, that's exactly why the wedding is on hold. Because even though I love my partner very much, this whole situation and excuses absolutely stink. I want to see some actions. Words are empty until proven. Someone else asks, OP, is your partner a woman too? I ask because this would make so much sense if it were a woman-loving woman relationship. OP says, yes, we are all women. I never thought that I'd end up falling in love with one of those. I'm friends with all of my exes lesbians, and it's driving me nuts. I don't subscribe to all of that nonsense. An ex is an ex for a reason, and I can tell them happy birthday and Merry Christmas. Not hide away with the phone so my fiancé can't hear, that stops, or I walk. I've been through too much in life to put up with this kind of mess. We'll see if my fiancé stands on her words or not. I hope she does, but if not, I'll be leaving regardless of if it hurts or not. Have they admitted to not having any more contact with this ex? Do you have an agreement that if she continues to disrespect you, that you will cut the ex off? OP says, if she ever feels that she has the space or capacity to undermine or disrespect me again, I'm walking. Because that would mean my partner is kept in touch with them in a significant way. I'm not going to give ultimatums and tell grown 40-plus-year-old people how to act, how to adjust their behavior, and how to treat me. I said what I had to say. I reiterated that I don't see myself becoming friends with this person due to their treatment of me in our relationship, and that I don't want to hear from or about her anymore. I can't be 31 and have more emotional intelligence and spine than people over a decade my senior. If this situation repeats and I have to explain myself again, that would mean that I wasn't heard at all in the first place. If that turned out to be the case, I wouldn't see any point in the relationship going forward. Teruiel says, whilst I know that OP said the wedding was put on hold for the moment, I still don't see this wedding happening anytime in the near future. The OP is clearly still in the everything is roses and sunshine except for this one tiny red flag the size of the old USSR phase of a post that we see here. We all know how that tends to escalate from there. While reading the first post, I was thinking of the meme, don't be so open-minded that your brain falls out. OP is trying so hard not to be labeled as insecure that she's overcompensating by not letting her partner walk all over her, but actually giving her blessings for it with a smile. Yeah, OP has a lot of therapy talk, but She's now using it to justify why she's being a doormat. The whole accepting responsibility thing is interesting, as her fiancé sure doesn't seem to be taking any. And you know what? Sometimes people have to go through another relationship breakdown in order to learn how not to be a doormat in situations like these. Because yeah, I agree with that last comment. I do think that her fiancé is not taking any responsibility, and OP did not hold her ass to the fire like the comments in the first post would have you think she should be doing. I personally think that she's giving her fiancé too many chances here and not really breaking down what the fiancé is saying, how the fiancé's interpretation of the situation is being communicated, and I would say how she is manipulating the situation. It's not being dealt with appropriately, if that makes any sense. I really just be doing somersaults in my brain sometimes trying to communicate my feelings. But yeah, all of that to say, I don't think that OP should have given her another chance. I respect OP for giving the fiancé another chance. The part that stuck out to me was about the phone calls. My partner didn't want to bore me with the ex's crap, trivial small talk, and her complaining about stuff. I want to believe it. It seemed very genuine, but I'm still giving it time. And then just acting oblivious, as if she genuinely didn't realize that you were being disrespected to your face, and that this is a whole-ass revelation. No, OP. This is a 40-plus-year-old experienced lesbian. She knows exactly what she's doing. She's had more than 20 years of experience of situations like this. She knows how to manipulate the situation. You are giving her too much charity and generosity. I refuse to believe that she didn't know what was going on. That, I don't want to bore you with all this trivial small talk crap. Because then, if you were to force her to go into those interactions and explain why she let this all happen for so long, why she didn't say anything in any of these instances, you'd probably find out that there is something still going on with those two. And she would have to admit that she prefers her ex-fiancé over her current fiancé, and that you're just a placeholder. I genuinely believe that. So I hope there's another update, and that they do break up after this. Because this is a completely unacceptable situation to be stuck in, and if I was in OP's life as a friend, I'd be screaming at her for not just letting her go and continuing to waste her time. Anyway, that's my breakdown. I'd love to know your guys' breakdown of the situation. Our next post is by user Unrealistic Boob, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole for not agreeing to share my room with my dad's girlfriend's daughter?" So I, 22 female, still live with my dad by choice. My mum passed away when I was 5, and it's just been the two of us ever since. He never dated anyone until now, and honestly, I'm proud of him for finally opening up again. His new girlfriend seems nice enough, and I want him to be happy. She has 3 kids, a son, 18 male, an older daughter, 29 female, who doesn't live with her, and a younger daughter, 10 female. Recently, they've been spending more time at our house, and now they're officially moving in. For context, we live in a 3-bedroom house. My dad has the master bedroom, I've had my own room my entire life, and the 3rd bedroom is currently a guest room, home office, and storage combo. We also have a spacious basement and an attic, both mostly filled with old stuff. Some of it is my mum's, but nothing that can't be moved or reorganized. I'm a full-time uni student, and I also work part-time at a restaurant. I get a small monthly allowance from my dad, classic Indian dad behavior, but I still make my own money and support myself as much as I can while I study. I even paid him $50 in rent, which is the most he'd let me give. I tried offering more, but he refused. So I'm not freeloading, I do pull my weight. But here's the issue. My dad told me that the 10-year-old would be sharing my room. As in, I'm supposed to give up my privacy, routine, and personal space to suddenly share it with a 4th grader. And here's the thing. She's not a bad kid, but she's loud, high energy, and constantly wants attention. She talks non-stop, touches things without asking, and doesn't really understand boundaries yet. She'll go through my drawers, try on my stuff, and barge in even when I'm clearly doing schoolwork or trying to nap. She's very clingy with me too. Probably because I'm the closest in age among the women in the house, but it's draining. I tried being patient and nice, but I'm already struggling to juggle school, work, and life. Sharing a room with someone who wakes up early, makes noise, and doesn't understand personal space would seriously affect my mental health and productivity. Also, my dad actually agrees with me. He knows it's not fair to ask me to give up my space, and he's been trying to talk to his girlfriend about putting her daughter in the guest room instead. He also suggested that her son take the basement or attic, and her son is completely fine with that. In fact, he likes the idea of having the basement to himself and said that he could even turn it into his own space. So it's not like anyone is protesting except his mum. But she still insists that her son needs his own room and doesn't want her son in the basement for reasons I honestly don't understand. She's not hearing anyone out, including my dad. Meanwhile, I'm just expected to step aside and give up the room that I've had all my life, like it's no big deal. I didn't ask for this new setup. I'm trying to be supportive, but I also didn't expect to be pushed aside in my own home just because my dad is starting a new chapter. I don't hate the little girl, not at all, but I also don't think it's fair for a 22-year-old university student with a job to be rooming with a 10-year-old who doesn't respect boundaries or understand what quiet time means. It's not a minor inconvenience, it's a huge shift in my day-to-day life. So am I the asshole? In the comments, Artistic Tough says, "Not the asshole. Separate conversation with your dad." This, because what the others are saying, that girlfriend is trying to push OP out, is probably true. OP needs to have a talk with dad. Dad needs to put his foot down and tell girlfriend that she isn't in charge of everything. Right here. Dad needs a wake-up call that little arguments is girlfriend staking her claim and pushing OP out. These little arguments will escalate until she has driven a wedge between father and daughter. Yeah, girlfriend is wanting to move you out. And because of this, I'd be talking to your dad and getting a lock for the door, because this lady is 100% going to start doing shady shit to make her move out. Yup, it lacks empathy and it feels entitled. This woman probably will also ask the dad to change his will to include her children very, very soon. I hope the dad has a prenup and a will that protects his daughter. OP says, "My parents ran away from India when they were young and settled in Canada. Everything in his name is mine." I get why OP is coming to Reddit for advice in this situation, and that's a very smart thing to do when you're unsure. Absolutely not the asshole for this one. I would be laying it on thick to dad that she is trying to get you out. She is trying to drive a wedge between us, and if you start getting angry at me and you start saying that I'm unreasonable for wanting my own space, that she is successful. She has been successful in driving a wedge between us. When has there ever been a problem with the living arrangement that we have before this? And why does your girlfriend suddenly get a say in how we run our lives? And there are no options besides what she wants. She has to get her way. We can't be malleable at all. Do you see how she is insane, Dad? Do you see how she has no brain in between those ears? Or maybe she does, and that she's intentionally driving a wedge between us. That's the conversation that I'd be having with him, to be like, she is entirely unreasonable, what she is asking for is ridiculous, you can't let this happen, and you're going to lose me if you continue to side with her. Do you really want that to happen? I'd, as the father, if I was in the father's shoes, absolutely not. I don't want my girlfriend to drive my daughter out of my house. But it can and probably will happen if nothing's done, so not the arsehole, and let's see, OP. And now, on to the update. Hello guys, I want to start off by saying thank you for the advice that you all gave me. I wasn't able to comment on all of them, but I read them, and some comments actually pointed something out. My dad's girlfriend wants me out, and the ones that told me to sit down with my dad and talk to him privately, just us, I guess, helped. So I did so this morning. We went out for breakfast, and I told him that I didn't feel comfortable sharing my room. I don't want to share my room. I told him that I'm not taking the attic and basement either, and to listen, that my room was mine since I was a baby. So why would I want it to give it to someone else? He was a bit hurt about this since I didn't actually tell him how I really felt about this whole ordeal. For context, my dad was born in India and is an only child, while my mother had 4 brothers, so you can already tell how the dynamic was like. Like, my mum's parents favored her brothers more than her, blah blah blah, and my dad didn't like that, and he was like 22 when they got married, and he moved to Canada with my mum. 22 and 19, and yes, it was a love marriage. My dad got a job and went to school, and started his own business, and took my mum to school, and they got financially stable. My mum's got her degree in medicine, and my dad is an accountant. They had me at 30 and 27. I was 5 when my mum passed away. My dad is a bit of an irrational person. Not in a bad way, but when you piss him off regarding someone he cares deeply about, he's quick to cut you off. My dad's girlfriend is 43, and the eldest child is 29, so you can do the math. Anyways, after talking to my dad, he was kind of pissed off at how blind he had been, and he was fuming when we went back home, and you will not believe what we saw. His girlfriend already moved her daughter's clothes from the guest room into mine, and that lit the fuse. I started screaming at her not to touch anything in my room. I honestly should have listened to those who told me to put a lock on my door. My dad intervened and told me to take the kids out of the house, and they started arguing. And long story short, my dad broke up with her, and it turns out she had lost her house to debt and had nowhere else to go. And she was after my dad's money. But my dad was what she described as stingy, and he didn't buy anything for her. I cackled at this. We changed the locks, as she had gotten her own copy of the keys, and later got a call from her ex-husband, the baby daddy of the 10-year-old, saying that we should have kept her with us, as she is now staying with him and his wife and other kids, so it's now a crowded house. I feel like my dad dodged a bullet there. They were dating for a few months, and all of this happened in the span of one day. It's also sad that he didn't date after my mum died, and when he finally tried to, this is what happened. My dad says that it's best that he stays a single widower, which is low-key sad, but that's his decision. Also, to the mediocre prompt telling me to move out because I'm 25, I'm 22. Read. And I don't want to move out yet. There's no such thing as it's time to move out when you have a great relationship with your parents. I'll move out when I want. See how I said I choose to stay with my dad? Yeah, it's a choice. I can move anytime, but guess what? I choose. Yes, it's a choice not to move out. Maybe after I graduate I'll move, but honestly I hate being alone, so I don't know. In the comments, Shits and Gigs says, haters be yelling about moving out. Cultures can embrace living with family. Some do not, and that's okay. Also, moving out is so hard right now. OP should stay where she is until she has a comfortable amount in the bank to put down for a monthly rent and not live on a timetable of some random internet strangers. Canada is straight up having a housing crisis. Starter homes that need 50 to 100k in work aren't selling for 75k anymore. They're selling for 250k plus. So no one I know is judging anyone else for not moving out anytime soon. No one can afford it. People need to stop being hung up on people who are older than 18 living with their parents now. I'm saying this as somebody who was an elder millennial expected to move out at the age of 18. Not only is the economy completely different than it was when we were young 20-year-olds, but there has also been kind of a culture shift because people need to live together to share childcare and stuff. Anybody who is pushing people to move out just because of the age that they are is either privileged or a dickhead. It's ignorant. Wages are stagnant, house prices are ridiculous, and not to mention there's just a straight-up housing shortage. Big agree. I think as long as everyone's okay with it, then why not? And OP goes to school and works part-time, so it's not like she's just a lazy bum. She's working on her future. I technically lived at home until my mid-30s, sure. I studied in a different city and lived there most of the time, but I still had my room at home with all my stuff, clothes, everything. And nobody was shocked. That's a pretty normal arrangement in my country. Anyway, I'm sorry that I didn't choose comments that touched on the dissolution of the relationship between the father and his girlfriend. But wow, Jesus, there's a lot to unpack there, isn't there? To me, it reads like he was blinded by new relationship energy. It's completely understandable. A lot of people do get that. It's easy to put your horse blinders on when you're in the throes of love once again, maybe more so lust than anything, but you can also be high on hope. You hope that the relationship works out because, the dynamic is great. It was working out until it didn't. He was potentially gaslit into seeing the reality from her side differently than how OP was seeing it from her side of the fence, I guess. But really, at the end of the day, it was up to him to see the situation for what it is, realize that she was trying to push OP out of the home. Thank God he acted accordingly and did not take this new girlfriend's side. I feel nothing but sadness for people in situations where OP's dad has decided to kick them out instead, especially in Canada in a time like this. That is not an easy thing to survive and get a roof over your head in, given the housing crisis, yes. And as unfortunate as it is that she had to move in with her ex-husband and crowd that house, maybe she should have been more considerate of the house that she was in currently and not risked it for her and her kids. It is pretty selfish that she threw away her stability and her children's stability because she wanted more than she deserved. That's bad parenting. That's entirely her fault. OP shouldn't feel bad about that. I feel for those kids that have a mother like that will light their entire life on fire and not learn from her mistakes. Absolutely. But at the same time, what can you do? What can any of us realistically do about that? Are we going to go report her to the CPS? Are we going to go get her kids taken off of her? Because I don't think that's a solution either. I hope all works out for them, but I guess we'll never know. I don't think OP will come back with another update. So thank you for the story, OP. Hope all goes well, and have a good day. Am I the asshole for recording my friend's fiancé at her bachelorette party and playing the recording for him? I was invited to the bachelorette party for my friend's fiancé. It was over the long weekend at a vacation rental on the beach. There was booze, a hot tub, great food, and it was definitely a hit. At one point, I was on the deck looking at the ocean, and the bride was drunk in the hot tub with two of her friends. She said she felt more relaxed than she had in a while. I assumed she was referring to wedding planning. One of her friends asked if she was having trouble with the little monster, and she said no, that he was manageable for now. At that point, I realized they were talking about my friend's son. I took out my phone and started recording them. The bride's friends said horrible stuff about my friend's son, and the bride responded positively to everything, laughing and agreeing. And then she said that it was too bad he wasn't old enough to send to military school. I stopped recording when their topic changed. I don't think they realized that I was close enough to hear them. When we got back, I asked to meet with my friend, and I played him the recording. He was quiet while he listened. After the recording was finished, he asked me to send it to him, which I did. Then he asked me to delete it, which I said I would do, but I haven't yet. I feel like an asshole for interfering. I really do. However, I'm worried about my friend's son. Depending on what my friend does, I might need to send this recording to the poor boy's family. I feel like I've overstepped, but what else can I do? Was I being an asshole? In the comments, Silent Handle 6041 says, "You weren't being an asshole. You were being a concerned friend. If someone's about to marry a person who openly disrespects their child, they deserve to know. It's better he finds out now than after they're married." More than one feeling can exist at the same time. 1. You can feel bad about recording someone saying damaging things and feel bad about it because you know it will damage or ruin things. 2. You can feel good that you were looking out for your friend and for a child that needs responsible adults to look out for that child. Both of those feelings can exist at the same time. You don't need to pretend like one feeling doesn't exist if you're experiencing multiple other things at the same time. You are aware that you have both of these feelings, and it sounds like you're trying to figure out which feeling should be the more important one. It's hard to make a decision because if you respond to both feelings, the resulting actions are opposite of each other. Another thing to consider is that maybe the child is acting like that towards the fiancé because she's treating the child a certain way. She might not ever say anything bad or wrong, but the child can definitely feel unloved. The result is that the fiancé is describing the behavior of a child that she has treated poorly, but there is no hard evidence of mistreatment. A child knows when they're loved and when they're not. You don't have to use words to let them know that you do or don't love them. I would feel guilty about doing what you did. I would feel guilty about recording her. I would feel guilty about showing it to the father, and I would feel anxious that maybe the father knew already, and it might just cause distrust between you and the fiancé. I would feel guilty that the result of this recording would cause the marriage to not happen. I would feel all of those feelings, and probably a lot more. I would feel good about knowing that I tried to do what I could to look out for the best interests of that child, even if that means that you shoulder the burden of some guilt. That's part of being a responsible adult. There are hard decisions to make, and you made one of them. You didn't just sit by and let things happen. Sure, it's not the same bravery you see on a battlefield, but it was a brave thing to do. You can sit in confidence that you tried to do the morally right thing, even though you knew that you didn't know what the outcome would be. That's a type of bravery that we can all admire. That was what you tried to do. Whether or not we all would have made the same decision with different variables doesn't matter. You did what you thought was right. It's safe to say that I feel like you made the responsible decision here. Someone put a problem in your lap, and you had the integrity to make a decision with good morals and real consequences. The outcome may not be what you want or expected, and you can learn from that. What you don't have to live with is knowing that you might have been able to prevent years and years of mistreatment, and you did nothing. I don't envy the position that you were put in, and I respect the decision that you made. People shouldn't judge you for the outcome of your decision, and the right people won't. Would you really want to be around the type of people who did? You have every right to be confident in your decision. Plus, you're here trying to gain perspective and feedback on it, and that's a good thing. Bravo says, having a recording is irrefutable compared to hearsay if you simply told him, hey, this is what your soon-to-be wife was saying about your kid. Ultimately, she will become the child's stepmom, so he, as a father, needs to know what he's getting himself into, and hopefully he can manage the situation so it resolves for the child who is most important. OP shouldn't delete the recording. Save it somewhere external on their phone, but don't delete it. I've been in a situation like this before, but not with as solid evidence as OP has here. Pretty much like as solid as it gets evidence without it being the kill shot. And let me tell you, man, being caught in between those things and not wanting to be outed as the one that has the evidence is difficult, because it's like, hey, I want to provide everything to help you as the victim make an informed choice, but I really don't want my identity as the person recording these things outed because I want to stay out of it. And unfortunately, in this situation for me, as soon as I presented the evidence, I was immediately outed, and I didn't realize that was going to happen. I know now that I should approach these things with the disclaimer of please don't out me as the one that has the evidence in this situation, because I don't want to be directly involved in this. But also I can see other people learning from situations like this, where they'll just not do what OP did here. They'll just see something absolutely morally reprehensible happening and just sit it out and be like, not my problem. I didn't see anything. I don't want to get involved in any of that drama and that mess. And then it becomes like a moral question. If you sit out these things, even though you can gather evidence of something fucked up happening, should you sit out? Or should you get involved, even if it's going to damage your relationships with those people who may be very close friends with you? In my instance, it was worth it for me, even though I didn't like the outcome of doing the morally correct thing in my situation. And because of that, I respect OP for bringing the recording to him. It takes some balls to do that, knowing that it can have, really bad consequences for you as the whistleblower. It doesn't always, but I can see how it could in this situation. At this point though, as long as he has a recording of it, I think you just delete it, wipe your hands of the situation clean, and move on from it if you can. No, I don't think you're an asshole for recording her at the bachelorette party. If she can't be honest and transparent with him about her true feelings about his child, they shouldn't be getting married. I believe this is something that he needs to know before getting married to her, and if that is enough to break the relationship now that he has solid evidence of it, maybe it's for the best, not the asshole. And now, on to the update. Yesterday, Friday afternoon, I got a text from my friend asking me to block his fiance's number. I was a bit thrown by the request and asked if everything was okay. He said he couldn't talk right now and asked me to please just block the number, so I blocked the number. I have this weird glitch with my Android Auto where if a blocked number calls me, it shows up in my recent calls as a missed call on my car's screen, even though on my actual phone it doesn't ring at all. I was driving later and I saw a ton of missed calls from her. There were so many that it exceeded what my car will show me. I kept the number blocked. Later, my friend's best friend, who was supposed to be the best man, called me and asked me if I'd heard from our friend. I said yes, and I asked them why. He sent me a screenshot from the fiancé's Facebook talking about how people show you their true colors and saying that she was newly single. I tried to call my friend, but he didn't answer. Tonight, I finally heard back from him. The long and short of it is that he asked her about how she feels about his son. She said he's adorable and sweet. My friend played her the recording, and she asked where he got it. He refused to tell her, saying that it shouldn't matter. She guessed it was me. He refused to confirm that. She was angry that he wouldn't tell her that I recorded her conversation, and she said she can't trust him anymore. She called off the wedding. It's not a great update, but since so many of you were so invested, I thought you'd want to know. In the comments, by OP, she says, "He didn't give me a word-for-word rundown of their conversation, but from what he told me, once the topic shifted to her wanting to know who recorded her, it never went back to what she said. I didn't know what to expect, but it definitely wasn't this. I thought maybe she would say that she was taken out of context or something, but shifting the topic completely from the son to the recording? That I didn't anticipate. I feel really bad for him. At least this way she can't play the 'he left me right before our wedding' card though." One of the bride's friends said that she wouldn't be able to put up with such a gross kid, to which the bride laughed and agreed that it was difficult. Another one asked if she ever wished that he just wouldn't come up when he's always jumping in the water. She said no, but she also laughed, and I don't think laughter was an acceptable response to such a horrible comment. Another friend said that if her son had stripped naked in public, she would slap him, to which the bride said she was too shocked to react. My friend's son is 2 and sometimes tries to take his clothes off outside because the summer has been so hot. I'm assuming they were referring to such an event. I already deleted the recording after so many comments on the original post advised me to. He still has his copy unless he also deleted it, but mine is gone. I'm glad that I got rid of it. His choice on how to handle everything from this point forward, as it should be. In the comments, Lizard Girl says, "Man, don't date a dad if you don't like his kid. I adore my guy's kid. Can he be annoying? Yes, he is 9 and cheeky, but legit has called me mum a few times too. He has a nice mum, but it's kinda sweet accidentally calling me mum. His behavior with me is also like how he is with his parents too. Tried to steal my soda a few days ago, which he does with his parents. If a 9-year-old wasn't at least kind of cheeky, I'd consider that a behavioral problem. You guys sound adorable. Just keep your soda close." This is the best thing that could have happened. The man dodged a huge bullet. Fiancé says her trust was broken. Get the hell out of here with that nonsense. Of course she was not the asshole. They were talking about physically abusing a child. Nothing else matters. Yeah, it's not polite to record a conversation, but protecting a child overrides that. I know it wasn't the bride saying the worst stuff, but she wasn't shutting it down either. I would be horrified to hear that. Well, even with the context, I still stand by what I said before. I'm sure some people can be like, well, if the context was different, OP would be the asshole here. Sure, you go right ahead with that, buddy. But laughing at someone making a joke about, it'd be so funny if the 2-year-old jumped in a pool and drowned. Then you wouldn't have a problem. Who says that? Who says that? That is not a normal thing to say. It was so good that OP did this. She deserved to have herself recorded for saying such ridiculous, insensitive things, or at least not shutting it down. Everything else they said wrapped around that one little joke that they had was bad enough, but that is just the death knell of this relationship. You hear her laughing at that joke and not shutting it down in the man's shoes? That's gigantic red flag territory. Who is this person that I'm going to marry? Fuck no, get away from me, you psychopath. I applaud OP for doing the right thing here, and with that context given, I wouldn't even feel bad about handing it over. I'd be like, stay the hell away from this troglodyte woman. She is going to kill your child. She has laughed at it. She did not shut it down. She is not worth the time of day. Get her away from your kids. She is a danger. Still not the asshole, OP. Thank you for doing the right thing. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, "Am I the asshole here for breaking up with my girlfriend for suggesting an open relationship and not letting her explain?" So my girlfriend of about 5 years recently suggested an open relationship. I know what it is, but just in case I misheard, I asked her to elaborate, and yeah, it's pretty much what you would think. She wanted us to be able to have sex with others. I took a deep breath and said that we were done. I've seen stories about open relationships and know that there's no way in hell that I would ever want one. She tried to take it back, but I told her that the fact that she had the nerve to even ask is a deal breaker. For your information, we had never done anything with another person, and I have never suggested any of it, so there's no way that I ever gave her any hints. This is not something I would want. I didn't even listen to her and just ignored her as she kept trying to explain and apologize. I just packed some stuff and went to stay with my parents. She's been trying to call me, but honestly, I feel like asking for an open relationship is basically asking for permission to cheat. In the comments, Zach Uncorked says, "That's how my first marriage ended. My now ex-wife started suggesting an open relationship, but said she had nobody in mind. She just wanted the option, hypothetically. However, she'd been hanging out with the one single guy in our local friend group and hid it from me, so I immediately knew what was happening. She denied it completely. We mutually agreed to end things, and she immediately began dating him officially. 6 months later, she wanted to vent about him to me, and I said that I didn't want to hear it. She made her bed. I was out of there. Much happier afterwards. It was a blessing in disguise, and I met my new wife a couple of years later, and we've been together for over 10 years. Honestly, 9 out of 10 times when someone asks to open a closed relationship, they're either already having an affair, or it's a soft launch of the affair. Good for you. I applaud your self-respect for staying true to your values. Just wait. After she realizes you're not coming back, you'll see who she wanted to cheat with pop up in her socials. Yeah, when someone who has never expressed any interest in an open relationship suddenly wants one, at best, there's someone waiting in the wings, and at worst, they've already cheated and want to make it acceptable. This is just good, general advice to give people when they're faced with this exact situation. I think it's just breakup worthy. That is a deal breaker. You ask me that question, you're just asking to end the relationship. Is it worth the hassle of subconsciously not being able to trust your partner again, even if you shut it down and say absolutely not? Can you trust that they're not thinking about trying to sleep with other people? What is the point of being in a relationship if not having that mutual exclusivity of each other? To each their own, obviously. Swinging is a very big thing, something that a lot of people participate in, and that is fine for those couples that do that. But that is very different from opening up the relationship, and people that swing will tell you that. And I'm sure there are different relationship dynamics that you can explore in between mutual exclusivity and an open relationship that people do and are comfortable with. But my point here is, if you jump the gun straight from monogamy to, hey, let's open up the marriage, let's open up the relationship, I'd be like, I'm a head out. I'll see you later. Goodbye. And I think that's a respectful thing to do. And now, on to the update. So I had to see her again at our old place, since a lot of my stuff was there. She didn't try to convince me again that she didn't mean it, and that she didn't need an open relationship. Honestly, reading the comments from my last post kinda helped me prepare for this, to be honest. I had an idea as to what to expect. I told her some things you just can't take back. Some questions just can't be unheard. She did try to convince me again, but honestly, I ignored her as best as I could. I just don't feel safe with her anymore. I don't feel comfortable staying with someone who even wants to explore this. Like the idea that she wanted to go out and fuck others, come back and act like nothing happened, genuinely makes my stomach drop. Like she was 100% okay with that. I did some self-reflection and ask, would I ever ask her something like that? No, I really wouldn't. I feel like some things just change the way you see people. I mean, if I told her that I want to get cosmetic surgery, she'd be hurt. I know she would. I mean, if I told her that I want her to get cosmetic surgery, she'd be hurt. I know she would. It's just something fundamental in you, like you're not good enough for your partner, and they actively want to change you or your relationship. I don't know. I'm sad this happened, but I don't regret it. In the comments, Psychosonic says, I bet as soon as you broke up, she called the new piece and it wasn't what she liked, so now she's like, oh, we don't have to do that now. Exactly. OP was right to trust his gut. Once that door gets opened, it changes everything, even if they try to walk it back. That kind of suggestion doesn't come out of nowhere, and OP deserves someone who is all in without second thoughts. He didn't owe her another conversation after that. And honestly, walking away was the most respectful thing that he could have done for himself. I'm so proud of how OP handled this. His partner sang the song that could not be unsung, and he didn't hesitate. His spine was made of adamant. He immediately ended things, and then furthermore spent his time away from her contemplating what it would look like, why she would want it, and why he didn't. No notes. 10 out of 10. Frankly, he handled it so well. I'm surprised this even made it to Reddit. A huge percentage of open relationships fail, largely due to one person who has their eye on a coworker or friend, or has likely started an emotional affair already, and what they're really looking for is a way to absolve themselves of any guilt. Just the idea that my partner was thinking of stepping out to sleep with other people would be a deal breaker for me too. I think the issue was mainly opening a closed relationship. Open relationships can be fine if both people go into it knowing that it's open, but I don't feel like you can open a closed relationship. Whatever the case, I'm glad that OP did do that and has self-respect and was able to go get their stuff without too much hassle because they already knew what was coming. That's kind of the goal of a lot of this advice on here, and look at this. A squeaky clean execution of that advice. Detach your emotions, because why allow yourself to be affected by someone that has shown you that they are not committed to you? I understand that is a very reductionist way of thinking about things, but that is what happened. OP is better off for it. In this situation, it worked out well. Thank you for showing us how it's done, OP. Our next post is by user I'm So Confused Reddit, and it's titled, My 29 female, girlfriend 27 female of 4 years, just told me that she's pregnant. I'm a woman, so it can't be mine, but she swears that she didn't cheat. What do I do? I'm still in shock, so bear with me. My life feels like a soap opera right now. Apologies, as this will probably be long. Here's some background. My girlfriend Anna and I have been together for 4 years, with intentions of getting engaged sometime this year. To clarify, we are 2 women in a relationship. I am a lesbian, always have been, but Anna is bisexual and has had serious relationships with men in the past. This has never been an issue for us because we love each other and we have a healthy and stable relationship. But now, as you can imagine, I'm second-guessing everything. What went down? In the last month, Anna has been complaining about putting on weight, particularly in her stomach area. Anna is thin and athletic, so the little belly that she developed is noticeable. She's been going to the gym more and started eating much healthier than she usually does. We didn't notice any improvements with her weight loss, but I told her that it takes time and that she will eventually lose the weight. Pregnancy never, ever crossed my mind for obvious reasons. Last week, she started really freaking out about her weight gain, So she scheduled a doctor's appointment. She had the appointment yesterday afternoon and afterwards called me at work and told me that we needed to talk. I could tell that she had been crying. I'm freaking out at this point now, thinking that she's terminally ill or something. I start tearing up, telling her to tell me what's wrong, but she insists on meeting at home. I leave work immediately and get home to see her sitting on the couch, her face puffy from crying. I'm shaking and tears are streaming down my face. I ask her about the doctor's appointment and what's going on, and she can barely get the words out through her sobs. She tells me that she went to the doctor and that they told her that she is 13 weeks pregnant. I stop crying, but my brain is trying to comprehend what she just told me. All I could say was, "What?" over and over. She is still sobbing, saying she is so confused and she has no idea how this happened. I've never really seen her in a state like that. She seems genuinely upset and confused, but then again, so am I. As I started registering what's going on, I ask, "Did you sleep with someone?" And she only starts crying more, swearing on her life that she didn't sleep with anyone. So I'm like, "But you did. You're pregnant. There is no way that you didn't cheat on me." To which she replies, "I have no effing clue how this happened, but I swear to God, I didn't sleep with anyone. You have to believe me." We go back and forth for 30 minutes or so, both of us still confused. I tell her that I needed to think, so I called a friend and spent last night at his house. I've been talking with friends and everyone is confused, but agreeing that Anna must have cheated on me. I keep playing over our conversations in my head though. Like, if she knew that she had slept with a guy and that she could be pregnant, why would she go to the doctor? Why wouldn't she have just gotten an abortion secretly? She could have used a Plan B pill just in case. Like, she could have gotten away with this. Maybe I'm being foolish here, but it genuinely seemed like she had no idea why she was gaining the weight in her stomach. A couple of nights we talked at length about possibilities, about why she was gaining weight just in that region, and pregnancy never crossed our minds. I'm also playing back the potential date that she could have cheated on me, considering that she is 13 weeks along. We live together and have similar work schedules. We both work 9-to-5 jobs, and if I'm thinking of the right week that this could have happened, there's nothing that stands out of the ordinary to me. There weren't any late nights or suspicious activity that would have concerned me. I feel like I'm driving myself crazy, and I feel like I can't trust her. She's been texting me asking if we can talk, and I told her that I need more time. I want to believe that she's telling me the truth, but I can't think of any reason how she could be pregnant without having slept with some guy. But it's also confusing given the situation. So Reddit, what are your thoughts? Does my girlfriend have a case of lesbian immaculate conception, or am I being a fool for doubting that she cheated on me? How do I handle this situation, and how do I talk to her? Everything feels very confusing right now. Thanks in advance for reading. In the comments, a deleted user says, "I think you know the right answer here. You don't just magically get pregnant. Yeah, she could have hidden it and secretly got an abortion, but she in all likelihood didn't think anything of it until it was too late. Maybe they used a condom and it broke, or he pulled out or something and she was convinced it couldn't be a pregnancy, or just didn't want to believe it. Denial is extremely powerful. Some people will deny till the day they die, but she's in a relationship with you, a woman, and she's pregnant. This isn't one that you can deny. Logic says she may as well come clean, but good luck with that. 99.9% chance that she cheated. The only other explanation is that she was drugged and raped or something, but that's a big leap into the let's find a way to rationalize the shit out of this zone. Good luck with this. My money is on that she was unfaithful, as it's the obvious effing answer. OP says, maybe the answer that she cheated is obvious here, but it's also difficult to explain to a bunch of strangers just how upset she was when she told me. I can't expect internet strangers to know the intimacies of our relationship, but I wouldn't be posting here if I didn't think there was a slight chance that she was actually telling me the truth. Hard one, because I don't know what to believe in a situation like this. Because absolutely it's easy to look at this from the outside in and be like, 9 times out of 10 they are cheating. Are you the 1%? Are you the one that didn't cheat and something crazy happened to you? But what makes me question it, the same as OP, is like, why wouldn't she go to every length to hide it and, obfuscate details as much as possible? If she truly did cheat, you'd think she would go to every effort to do something to change the narrative, but it seems like a pretty consistent story to me. Most likely she did cheat, but you never know. There's always a chance. And now, on to the update. So, a lot has happened since the original post. Thank you to everyone that responded with helpful comments. It seems like most people came to 3 possible conclusions with Anna's pregnancy. Either she cheated on me and got pregnant, she was the victim of a drugging scenario and doesn't remember anything, or the doctor is wrong. After spending the night at my friend's house and ignoring Anna's calls and texts, I decided to see her the next day to talk. We made a plan to meet at our house after work. I wasn't sure what to expect from our conversation. I thought I might get a confession of her cheating on me or something along those lines. So, we met at home. She asked me how I was doing, and I told her that I was still pretty confused and upset. She understood. And then I said, I have to know, did you sleep with someone else, or cheat on me, or come near sperm in any way, shape, or form since we've been together? She swore up and down that she did not. Very sincerely. She said, I know that this is effing crazy and literally unbelievable, but I swear to God I didn't cheat on you. I'm just as confused as you are. I still wasn't entirely convinced, so I asked her about the doctor's visit specifically. She did not get an ultrasound, they only took a urine sample. I guess she told them her symptoms, they took a urine sample, concluded she was pregnant, and sent her on her way. I asked why they gave her a specific gestation period, and she didn't know. I'm not entirely sure why they did either. Of course, I was like, did you tell your doctor that it's impossible that you're pregnant, that you've been with a woman for the last 4 years? And the doctor gave her grief for it, especially implied that she must have slept with a man because she's pregnant, and that's why she was experiencing her symptoms. I'm not sure if this is a common occurrence for a doctor, but she said he seemed completely unfazed by her claims of not having slept with a man. For those of you that mentioned her period, Anna has an irregular period. Sometimes she gets it, sometimes she doesn't. So there was no cause for alarm when she didn't get her period for 3 months, because A, she can't get pregnant, and B, more sex for us. I guess the doctor saw the signs of a positive pregnancy test and lack of period, and pregnancy was the most reasonable option. After hearing about that, I said that she should schedule another doctor's appointment with a different doctor as soon as possible. She told me that she had, and had the appointment the next day, which was yesterday. We decided that it was best that I go with her to the appointment. The first order of business with the new doctor was the ultrasound. I sat with Anna as they put the gel in her stomach, and I was honestly sweating bullets. I kept thinking to myself, what if she is actually pregnant? I thought I was going to pass out, but Anna seemed calm. They confirmed that Anna is not pregnant, but she had a mass on her ovary that was a cause for concern. It was one of the most emotionally confusing moments of my life. Anna and I looked at each other, not sure if we should celebrate the not pregnancy, or cry, or what. Anna still has more appointments, but the new doctor gave her the diagnosis of stage 1 ovarian cancer. This explains the positive pregnancy result and the bloated stomach. This also explains why she wasn't able to lose the weight in her stomach. The doctor also mentioned that the irregular periods should have been a sign for concern for Anna, as women with irregular periods can be more at risk for ovarian cancer. I'm devastated and hopeful. Anna is still in shock, as she's been through a lot in the past couple of days. I'm supporting her the best I can, and we're figuring out a game plan. Naturally, we're both terrified of what's to come. This will be a huge part of her life, and my life, and probably puts our plans to get engaged, /married, /have kids on hold, if she can even have kids after all of this. Anna even joked about the fact that she wishes she had actually been pregnant with the Messiah. That way we could have kept the kid and not have this horrible diagnosis. So I guess this is a happy or sad update. Thanks to everyone for reading. In the comments, Remember Coombe Valley says, I'm so sorry to hear. The first doctor, who was so dismissive of her insistence that she hadn't slept with a man, should probably be scolded for this. OP replies, when she explained his reaction to me, I was livid. Call me an angry man-hating lesbian, but the second doctor was a woman, and she was honestly one of the most helpful and supportive doctors I have ever encountered. As a physician who's not even a gynecologist, that first doctor didn't even do their due diligence. It's a slam-dunk classic boards question for a woman with no recent sexual history who has a positive pregnancy test, may have a BHCG, pregnancy hormone secreting ovarian tumor. Edit, as someone rightfully pointed out, my phrasing should have been sexual history that could result in a pregnancy. I didn't mean to discount same-sex sexual relations as an absent sexual history. I'm a dude married to a dude. So definitely not trying to come across as homophobic as some have suggested. 100 Little Butterflies replies, seriously. Not only did it almost wreck a relationship, but he completely missed a cancer diagnosis because he was too misogynistic to hear his own patient. OP should file a complaint or something, if only to get him training so it doesn't happen again. Lily of the Alley says, imagine how badly this could have gone if Anna had a dangerous or abusive partner, if she had attempted some kind of self-harm, or even just waited around on cancer. Jesus. I know, right? All in all, OP and Anna's reactions were relatively tame while still being extremely understandable, but they didn't act on it immediately and did the due diligence of checking again. Am I the asshole here for telling a woman at the gym that she's embarrassing herself? I go to the gym a lot. About 6-ish months ago, I noticed a woman I'll call Andrea. That's not her name, but it will be for the rest of this post. I don't know if Andrea started going to the gym 6 months ago, or if that's just when I noticed her. Full disclosure, I spoke to her first, but I had no way of knowing what the result would be. A lot of the machines at this gym have little entertainment systems attached to them that can access local channels. I go on a treadmill, and I realize the TV on the treadmill wasn't working. Andrea was walking past, and I said, hey, do you know if there's an issue with the cable? This TV isn't working, but I don't know if it's just this one or all of them. She said the same thing happened to her on a different machine. I thanked her, and that was the whole interaction. A week later, she asked me for some electrolyte powder for her water. I said I didn't have any. She was cool with that, and asked me how long I'd been coming to the gym, and what I did for work. I answered and returned her questions. She said that she was new to the area, and worked in private security. We had a few more chill conversations after that. 6 weeks ago, she asked me out. For reasons I won't get into here, I wasn't interested. I declined. She said not to worry about things being awkward at the gym if we don't work out. I said that wasn't the issue, I'm just not looking to date right now. She kept talking to me, and at first I kept talking to her, but I started to think that something might be wrong, and I started avoiding her. 2 weeks ago, she walked up to me while I was on a machine with only one way to properly dismount that involved stepping into where she was standing. She asked if I was avoiding her. I said I was, and apologized. I said I just don't want to date right now. She said I don't have to avoid her to not date her. I said okay. I kept avoiding her though. Tonight while I was working out, she confronted me again about avoiding her. I had a bad day and told her to leave me alone. She asked why I'm being such a prick, and I said because I wanted her to leave me alone. I then said that she was embarrassing herself and needs to stop. She put her foot on top of the weights, and I thought she was going to press down on them, so I let go of the bar very quickly, causing the weights to slam and make a loud noise. Several people looked over. She said, "Now who's embarrassing himself?" and walked away. Did I go too far by saying that? And do I owe her an apology? In the comments, Trundlesploot says, "The minute her foot went onto those weights, it became really important to report this shit. I'm sorry you stumbled across a gym stalker. So did I a few years ago, and it chased me out of the gym entirely." Really, when she confronted OP about avoiding her, and OP confirmed they were, in fact, avoiding her, then she showed up again. Well, the stalking is more subjective. OP has indicated that he isn't taking it seriously. I agree with you that that is a mistake, but the gym management may well not take it seriously either. But the foot on the weights was immediate threat of physical harm and is something very solid that gym will need to act on, because if she gets that idea in her head again, someone is going to be seriously harmed on their property. Is OP a man? Now reverse the roles. What if OP was stalking a woman? Dear gym management, this woman asked me out and I refused. She has been following me around and making my life miserable when I come to the gym. Last time she stepped on my weights and I let go because I was afraid. 1. Put it in writing. 2. Written trial, evidence. 3. If she escalates or tries to put you in a position of blame, there is evidence that she is the problem. I don't know why men don't take threats from women seriously. Like, for real, you all need to choose the bear. Something I didn't mention originally, I'm a woman married to a man with loads of male relatives, including sons. The world isn't safe for both men and women, although it's dangerous in different ways. The warnings and teachings I give my daughters are different from those I give my sons, but everyone has to be careful. Well, except for one, never leave your drink unattended. And, well, a second, always share your ride details with someone, particularly at night. Corpse in the Making says, not the arsehole. She needs to learn to accept rejection and move on. Now she's intentionally targeting you and cornering you. Definitely report her, just so there's a paper trail of her behavior. Sadly, at the gym, you might have to employ this standoffish mindset. It sucks, but it deters people from trying to romance you when you just want to work out. A woman that's new to the area, works in private security, and has stalker tendencies? Report, report, report. Yeah, to me it doesn't sound like OP is taking this as seriously as he should. He's being like, did I go too far by saying that? Do I owe her an apology? Brother, come on! Open your eyes! She is stalking you. She is harassing you. She's not leaving you alone. She has escalated her behavior. That is an abuser right there. That is a dangerous person that you're dealing with. Just because she's a woman, who cares? She needs to learn how to take no for an answer. She obviously doesn't respect you. She's obsessed with you to the point that she's more than happy to put you in physical harm and constantly threaten you. Report her to gym management for everything she's done, get that crazy psychopath banned from the gym, and get a police report done on her. She's gonna escalate and put you in danger. How are you ignoring this so much? Like, please stop. You didn't go too far by saying that, and you don't owe her an apology. You owe her a restraining order. And now, on to the update. I went in early this morning for a run, and I told the front desk staff about Andrea putting her foot on the weights. They said they would talk to her, and then after work, I went in again for a regular workout. I was working on my legs when she walked up to my machine. The first thing she did was apologize about the weights. I don't know if someone talked to her or if that was of her own initiative. I accepted her apology and apologized for saying that she was embarrassing herself. She said she forgave me, but if I wanted to really make it up to her, I could buy her a drink and she would buy me one too to make up for the weights. I said maybe we should buy our own drinks, meaning separately at different places and times, and she misunderstood me and asked when and where. I told her I meant that I didn't want to go out with her. She said this wouldn't be a date, but a reset for our friendship. I said I didn't want to be friends. She said that I was being a douche and asked what my problem is. I said the weight incident made me uncomfortable and I would rather us just give each other space. She then asked me if my problem with her is that she's Hispanic. I was so taken aback, I didn't even know that she was until she said that. I said no, that she just makes me uncomfortable, and she wanted me to explain what about her made me uncomfortable. And I tried to do so, but she argued with every point I made. I got frustrated and told her to just stay away from me. She said fine, and that I have a lot of maturing to do, and then she walked away. I'm hoping that's the end of it. And now, onto the latest update. Andrea is banned from the gym. I was running on the treadmill and watching TV. She came up to me to talk to me, and I ignored her, staring at the TV. She raised her voice, and I continued to ignore her. She then reached out and pulled the safety tab out of the treadmill, the one you connect to your wrist so the treadmill stops if you fall, causing the treadmill to come to a sudden stop. I tripped and fell onto the controls and TV, scratching my chin on top of the screen. I then went to the front desk with Andrea following me. I told them what she did, and she kept trying to interrupt me and talk over me, but the woman at the front desk told her to be quiet and wait her turn. I told her that Andrea pulled out the safety tab while I was running and that she injured me. The woman at the front desk then asked Andrea what happened. Andrea said that I was staring into the middle distance, like I was in some kind of fugue state, and she thought that I was having a medical episode, so she pulled the tab. Ah, of course, the old Walter White "I was in a fugue state" excuse. The woman at the front desk asked for her membership card, and Andrea didn't want to give it to her, but the woman at the front desk said that if she didn't, she would ban her. Andrea gave her the card, and the woman at the front desk said to leave, and she was suspended for a month. Andrea objected and got into an argument with the woman at the front desk that escalated into Andrea calling the woman an N-word B-word, so she was banned permanently. I hesitate to call that a happy ending because the poor gym employee had to put up with racial harassment, but I won't deny, getting to watch her cut up Andrea's membership card felt pretty good. In the comments, Comfortable Focus says, "Still not the asshole. Andrea proved herself to be crazy with a side of racist." OP replies, "And the irony is that she accused me of being racist for not wanting to date her." OP, please be wary in case she follows you home. Watch that she doesn't just turn up in places that you frequent. She sounds unhinged, and now she's a scorned and angry woman. Yikes. I'm glad that she's banned, but she should have been perma-banned when she injured you. A 1-month ban for injuring another patron is stupidly lax. The next time she injures someone, the gym will be liable for allowing a dangerous moron on the property. Especially when it wasn't the first instance of her interfering with equipment that another member, like OP, was using. She put her foot on the weight stack of the machine that I was using, causing me to let go of the bar really quickly and slam the weights. If you see her again and she acts creepy, it's worthy of reporting to the police. Just pay attention to your surroundings in case she stalks you. OP says, she's banned from the gym, so I doubt that I'll see her again. She doesn't know where I work or live. I'm guessing she doesn't get told no very often. I'm glad this had a safe ending. And OP says, "Thank you. I am too. Now that it's all over, I'm starting to process it. The whole thing was so crazy. My heart rate is up higher than it ever gets when I run, which is nuts." Look, it's OP's life to live, absolutely, but I still don't get why they're not reporting this to the police when everyone is begging them to please protect yourself. I feel like we're watching the start of a true crime episode right here. It's like, this young man came to Reddit asking about this woman that was stalking him at the gym, but unfortunately he refused to take their advice, and he just kept ignoring it until she stalked him. And when she was stalking him, he came back to Reddit asking what he should do about it, but he still refused to take this to the police. And tragically, this ended with the young man sleeping with the fishes. A cautionary tale to all others. Again, I don't agree with the way that he's handling this situation. She works in private security, for Christ's sake. She told you that she is a threat. Why do you not take that seriously? Please. My skin is crawling. But hey, you know what? Your funeral, OP. If that's what happens, that's what happens. Good luck. And thank you for the story. Our next post is by user Acceptable Bison, and it's titled, "My boyfriend of 7 years wants to take a 1-year-long break." OP is 27, the boyfriend is 28. Hi, I'm sorry for my spelling as English is not my first language. Me and my boyfriend have been together since we were 20 years old, and for the most part, our relationship was pretty good. We can communicate pretty well our wants and needs, so it's been a very healthy relationship. A couple of days ago, I noticed that something was bothering him, and I asked. He said he doesn't feel as good as he used to. He's not okay with where he is now in his life. He doesn't like his job, his economics, his just entire life, basically. The only thing he said is good in his life is me, and that doesn't make him feel fulfilled. Oh, Now tell me how you really feel, but we've been talking non-stop in these past few days. We have also cried too much. In the beginning, I was scared because I didn't want the relationship to end, but the more we talk, the more I feel I don't deserve this situation. I know it's not a me problem, it is him, his life, his goals. I cannot think for him. I can't be happy for him. I'm exhausted. At the end of every conversation, he ends up telling me that even though he wants to discover himself, the only thing he's sure is that he doesn't want to live without me. But then the next morning he wakes up confused with what he wants again. He came up with this idea of a 1-year-long break so he can find himself and then come back to me. A gap year from the relationship. Hell, what a good idea. This can literally never end badly. I honestly think that's awful, and I told him that I love him so much, and probably in a year I will still love him the same, but that I don't deserve that. I won't be sitting with my arms folded, just waiting. I'll probably resent him a lot, so that won't work for me. If he stays, and commits to working things out in therapy. If he leaves, then it's done. He said the most important thing for him is my happiness, and that I deserve a concrete answer on what his choice will be. He wants time to think about it, like a month. But now I'm asking myself, what do I want? Honestly, him pulling this stunt destroyed somehow a little of my trust in him, so I don't know if I should leave either way. In the comments, Poor Correlation says, I just don't get the logic. Everything's wrong in his life except you, so he wants to throw you out the window too? Tons of people improve their job, finances, and quality of life while they're in a relationship. It can even be helpful to have a significant other for support during so much change. Why does he see you as a barrier to a happy life rather than an enabler? OP replies, he thinks that in order to be better, he has to be a better person by himself, to overcome his difficulties alone, because in his words, I will just do everything for him. I hooked up his current job, I make the most money in the house, I manage the finances in order for us to stay afloat. I'm the one who has friends. He doesn't have any. So he feels like he's dragging me down all the time because of him feeling depressed all the time. Go For Yourself Too says, he doesn't want to take a year off, he wants to break up, but he can't bring himself to jump off the cliff. And OP says, I said this to him last night. Maybe he's too afraid to pull the trigger, so maybe I should do it for him. Ethereal Spear says, are you sure he's not having an affair? This back and forth torture that he's putting you through just screams affair. I guess there's a lot of ways that this could be going, but at the same time, it just does feel like an affair, does it not? Like, the logic is just not logicking. How can you say, you're the only good thing in my life right now, everything else sucks, so I need to stay away from you for a year? That's just a punch to the jaw. That's not even a punch to the gut. That's just like, you're the best thing that's ever happened to me, so I need to get rid of you. I hate you. I don't want to be with you right now. You sicken me. I'm bringing back the brain tumor defense, guys. He's got a brain tumor. We got to do a CT scan. We got to find what's going on in there. We got to bring him on a gaycation to Ibiza. I don't care if I said that wrong. Sue me. And we got to start an art room. Something to bring logic back to this guy's brain. And no, I will not drag Connor and Jack into this. Don't ask me to bring those two into this, you goddamn buffoons. Anyway, back to reality. I don't think this is going to end well. I don't think they should take a year off. I think OP should fight that. But to me, this also reads like an instant deal breaker. If your boyfriend of 7 years says, I need to take a year off, are you going to be okay in that relationship if you deny that and continue as if nothing happened? That feels like a break in trust. I don't think I can trust this person because they wanted to leave me. Is that my insecurity talking? Am I projecting? Like, I feel like I'm not crazy in this instance. If my partner said they wanted a year off, I'm like, well, that's the end of the relationship, I guess, but I'm not in OP's shoes, so I don't know how to act. I would want to give them a chance to work on the relationship, but I can see how that would just be instant breakup territory. And now, onto the updates. So I just logged into this account that I forgot about, and I saw some people asking for an update. It's safe to say that my life did a 180-degree flip. Long story short, we broke up. Now, if you guys want to know what happened, get comfy. All the people who said he was cheating on me were right, but I didn't realize up until June, 4 months after my first post. We had a long and hard discussion after he said that he wanted to leave. We both cried a lot because of that. A month later, it was all said and done. We were going to break up, and he was going to move to a place near his workplace, like 1.5 hours from the city. I said that I loved him, and he asked me if he came back sooner or later, would I take him back with open arms? And I said, maybe, but I wasn't sure. I helped him pack his stuff, and he left. That day, I felt my world was crashing down. I cried my eyes out for like a week, and then something suddenly snapped, and I was sick of the self-pity, so I started to build my life back up again. 3 weeks later, he moved, and he texted me that he made a mistake and that he wanted to come back. I said that I didn't want that, so the answer was no. The next morning, he texted me again saying he lost the place that he was staying in and that he really needed to come back, that he didn't have anyone to provide him shelter, so I took him in. He stayed for a couple of weeks and told me that he wanted to work on the relationship, but I was very resentful of him and everything. We talked, I treated him poorly, but then internally I regretted it because I didn't want to be an awful person, I just wanted to be in peace. After a month, I told him that he couldn't live with me anymore and that he needed to move out of my place, and so he did a month later. We lived together for a total of 2 months. After he left, I started to go out more and meet new people. I got a couple of hookups with some guys and all started to look bright again. One day I bumped into his boss and started chatting with him, and he told me that he was glad that I was better and that he found it weird that my ex would want to date a coworker of his, that he advised him against it, but he did it anyways. That set off an alarm bell for me. Coincidentally, the very next day, I was at a party and bumped into a mutual friend, but more his friend than mine, and engaged in conversation for hours. Later, when we were both drunk, he let it slide that he knew that my ex was cheating on me since November of last year. Now with those details, I called a third person, a friend of him from college that wasn't on speaking terms with my friend since January, and asked why they had that fallout. He told me he didn't want to indulge on cheating, and that is why they argued. I kept that information to myself. A week later, my ex called me to talk about a debt that he has to pay me back, and I told him that I knew what happened, and he denied it all. A month goes by, and my company sent me to the north of the country to work for 1.5 months. During that period, my ex called me once a week to cry about how much he missed me, and about how his life was a mess without me. I didn't reply or answer, but I couldn't block him since he owes me a lot of money. I came back to my state and started exclusively seeing one guy that was originally a hookup, but feelings started to come out. My ex found out and started to panic again. Now, one thing I didn't mention is that the girl that he cheated on me with is now his official girlfriend. So I've told him that if he keeps on calling and texting me, I would tell that girl that he's saying he doesn't want to be with her and her kids. So, now I feel happy. Happier than I was before, and I didn't realize it. In the comments, quote, he told me he didn't want to indulge on cheating, and that's why they argued. Couldn't be bothered to tell you, though, apparently. What an asshole. Quote, so I told him that if he keeps on calling or texting me, I would tell that girl he's saying he doesn't want to be with her and her kids. If you don't do this anyway, you are also an asshole. Don't help this guy cheat. OP replies, I thought about that too, about telling that girl that she was the one that he cheated on me with, and she knew we were in a relationship. Also, if I tell her, that's just inviting the drama into my life again. But you have a point. I'm going to think about it. Yeah, tell her and block them both. You'd never see the money again anyway, and you deserve peace. He will always be trying to get back with you. RidgeGirl29 says, maybe this is just me, but it feels like whenever someone wants to take a break in a relationship, it usually spells disaster for one reason or another. You can absolutely change your life while still dating someone. People do it all the time. Again, it goes back to the old saying, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. He knew the potential consequences of taking a break, and now he's sad he wasn't on the right side of things. Boo-hoo. That's how life works. Honestly, I personally don't believe in breaks. If the relationship needs a break, then it's probably better to just break up. Quote, saying he lost the place that he was staying and he really needed to come back, that he didn't have anyone to provide him shelter, so I took him in. This is so often the way with these types of posts. They're not coming back because they actually want to be with OP, but because they want something or to benefit from the person instead. Absolutely right. He went to see if the grass was greener on the other side and realized it wasn't, and he needs his shelter back. The little hobosexual that he is. Guys, can we please stop entertaining hobosexuals in 2025? It's about time that we just let them be homeless, if that is what their little heart desires, because they can't keep having their cake and eating it too. We gotta put a stop to it, please. Thank you for the story, OP. I'm glad that you stood your ground on this one and came to your senses. The relationship was over the minute that he asked for a break, because he has no brain and no morals, and was cheating on you the whole time. Who would have thought? So thank you for the story. Keep him away, and look forward to your own happiness. Thank you. Our next post is by a throwaway account, and it's titled, My 27 male, fiancé, 29 female, was accused by her friend/maid of honor, 29 female, of stepping out on me. My fiancé claims that she's trying to sabotage our relationship. I'm lost and questioning everything. How do I move forward? So my relationship with my fiancé has kinda blown up. I've never felt this unsure in our relationship. I'm in need of outside perspectives. For context, we're college sweethearts. For orientation, I was touring campus, and she was my group's tour guide. That's how we met. She was my first love and my best friend. Now we're in the height of wedding planning. About a couple of years ago, we had a rough patch with her shutting down and pushing me away. She wanted to take a break so she could find herself again. I don't believe in breaks. I wanted to work through it together, but her mind was made, so I agreed. We established boundaries for the break. We wouldn't see other people, and we were to have checkups about where we were emotionally. The goal was to reinforce our foundation. The break was only a month. We bounced back stronger, but it is still a sore spot. The break was the most distant we'd ever been, and the experience highlighted why I'm against it. Recently, my fiancé had a bad falling out with a mutual friend/maid of honor who I'll call Joss for clarity. Some nasty stuff was said, and Joss accused my fiancé of being a bridezilla and an even worse friend. I hoped the rift between them would mend because they were close for a long time. They were like sisters. But my fiancé kicked Joss out of the wedding and uninvited her. The damage seemed to be done for both. The other day, Joss reached out to me and said that my fiancé wasn't being completely truthful. She revealed that not only did my fiancé see other guys during the break, but also hooked up with someone on their annual girls' trip. She gave the guy's name, but I don't know who he is. On the trip, my fiancé's group linked up with another that they clicked with. Joss said that it was clear the guy had an eye for my fiancé, and eventually she and he began wandering off. My fiancé ignored Joss's attempts at talking her down. It was a lot to take in. My initial instinct was to shut Joss down. Up until this point, I trusted my fiancé fully, but I couldn't overlook how much Joss's account matched my doubts from back then. Like I said, we were the most distant during our break. It wasn't on my part. There were times that she was AWOL on our checkups. During the girls' trip that fell on our break, she went radio silent in a way that she wasn't on previous trips. There was truth to linking up with another group because my fiancé told me about it. She's still casually in touch with some of them. Right after the trip, she was gung-ho on calling off the break, how it was a mistake, and that she was in a better headspace. Joss claimed that this was part of their falling out. She was pushing my fiancé to come clean with me before the wedding. She felt I deserved to know and wished that she would have said something sooner. I didn't say much. I was too numb to really feel anything. I initially didn't confront my fiancé. I was trying to process, but she could tell something was wrong and kept asking. When I did confront her, she was a whirlwind of emotions. She mostly ranted about Joss, but I told her that this was her chance to tell her own story. She asked if I would hear her out. I promised I would. She confessed to seeing other guys during the break, but claims that nothing happened. She also denies ever hooking up with anyone on the trip. I asked her why Joss would tell the truth about her seeing other guys, which alone thoroughly broke our boundaries, but make up an elaborate lie about her cheating on the trip. She insists that Joss is trying to sabotage our relationship. She said the other guys meant nothing and that I'm the one that she was in love with. It was like she wanted me to be grateful for choosing me. She promised to do anything to regain my trust. She said we're starting our lives together and I shouldn't let Joss come between us. I wasn't very receptive to her. We fought, and I told her that I needed to think. Ever since, she's been pouring on so much affection. She still swears that she never hooked up with anyone on the girls' trip and that Joss is trying to sabotage us. But I can't shake the possibility that Joss is telling the truth. All of this is blown up while we were in the middle of wedding planning. Invites already delivered, venue booked, catering being arranged, suits, dresses, everything. I feel so numb. I'm in love with my fiancée. She's my best friend. It feels wrong to doubt her, but I'm questioning everything, even myself. I don't know what to believe anymore. I feel like an idiot. How do I move forward for myself and for my relationship? In the comments, Fluffcat says, quote, "We established boundaries for the break. We wouldn't see other people." That's all you need to know. You established a boundary, she broke it. Whether she actually slept with someone or not, you need to decide if you can forgive that she's lied to you for years. Essentially, she withheld information in order to get back together with you and did not give you all the facts so that you could make an informed decision of whether or not that was something that you wanted to do. I'm afraid she'll eventually tell the truth that she did sleep with someone else, but it will be months after the wedding when your choices have a more serious impact. I was prepared to call out the friend for being jealous, but after reading it all, I think she's telling the truth. I think your fiancée is trickling out the truth to you. She's only telling you what she thinks you will forgive. She's lied and then realized that she had to tell you a little bit. She's been lying since you got back together. Contact the other women that went on the trip and ask them as well. Check her phone for the messages between the group at that time and get tested. OP says, I'm considering reaching out to the other women. I don't know how open they'll be about it. I get along with them, but they're more of my fiancé's friends, and they've largely stayed out of the falling out. Not a Bear 87 says, having been the Joss for friends myself, meet up with Joss and have her get a friend/your fiancé on speaker, someone that knows. Hear it for yourself. She was going to keep the seeing other guys part secret forever. I think Joss is telling the truth and that your fiancé is full of shit. I agree with that, and I think that's a very good suggestion, because if the fiancé doesn't know that OP is there, the fiancé will be very much open to saying whatever is on her mind and whatever she is hiding from OP. If she wants to obfuscate and keep details from OP all her life, OP can keep that detail that he is present for the phone call away from her as well, and that will give OP the perspective they need to cut this off and make a clean break. Because I don't think that Joss is making this up. It seems all too convenient that the fiancé just kept disappearing and that Joss is some master manipulator in this situation. I really do think the fiancé just slept with someone while they were on break and now regrets it and doesn't want it to ever come out. So good luck to that relationship. And now, on to the update. Thank you to everyone who reached out. It helped give me much-needed perspective. I wanted to give an update. So I wanted a fuller picture before making a decision on anything with my fiancé. I knew her friends and bridesmaids would be a lost cause. I get along with them, but they're more of the fiancé's friends, and their group runs deep. They weren't going to talk at the expense of my fiancé. I asked Joss for more information and for evidence to her claims about my fiancé hooking up with someone on their girls' trip. She said that my fiancé avoided talking about that particular trip, especially over text. Most of their arguments were in person, but she showed me texts from shortly after the trip when my fiancé confirmed hooking up with the guy. She texted how it's in her rearview mirror and she doesn't need a lecture about the past. She's focusing on the future. I knew the possibility, and my fiancé already confessed to seeing other guys during our break, but I don't know. Seeing those texts made it real in a way that it wasn't before. In the texts, she expressed regret, but it didn't make me feel better. I confronted my fiancé, and I knew immediately by the look on her face. She came clean on everything. She thought Joss deleted the texts. Around the break, we were having serious talks about marriage. She started worrying that she was missing out on stuff her single friends were engaging in. During that break, she sought validation from other guys and fooled around with that guy on the girls' trip. In her own words, she had a temporary high when he chased her, but felt worse about herself post-hookup. She claims the break showed her what was important and that she wasn't missing out on anything. She was reassured that we were right for each other. I hardly said anything to her. I mostly just listened. I was too numb for much else. She kept asking me to say something, but what was there for me to say? I felt that her actions spoke enough for us both. She kept apologizing for stepping out. When I asked her why she wasn't upfront with me, she said she didn't want to lose me over her biggest mistake. Her position that Joss isn't being noble has not changed. I told her Joss's motive doesn't matter, the truth is the truth. She asked if I could find it in myself to move past this. She said she loves me and she's fully committed. I couldn't tell her what she wanted. I said that it was best the wedding be put off and I needed space to sort out my feelings. She was against postponing and proclaimed that didn't have to define us, and she's still the same woman that I wanted to marry. She asked me not to give up on us. But the same way her mind was made about the break, my mind was made on postponing. It wasn't a choice. It wasn't so much a fight, more putting everything out there. She cried a lot. She rarely cries. It felt wrong to leave her crying. My first instinct was to comfort her, but I was too broken to fake it. I've been hurt before, but she hurt me in a way that only she could. I know postponing the wedding is for the best. The reason why I didn't call it off entirely is because I'm way too much in my emotions right now. Hurt, anger, sadness, and somehow numbness. At all possible, I try to avoid making decisions lost in emotion. I need to clear my head. I was so sure of my course and of our relationship. My fiancé was my partner in every sense. She was who I wanted to make a life with. Sometimes she would act so superior about our relationship compared to those of her friends. I feel so stupid. She says she's still the same person I love, but the fact is she had a secret life that I knew nothing about. I'm trying my best to understand that, but I'm at a complete loss. I'm not sure if I can move past this. All the guests have been informed of the postponement. Some questioned why, but I've been vague. I'm just too embarrassed. I feel bad for the guests too. Some with limited means already booked flights and hotels and took time off work for our wedding. That's how far we were in the home stretch. In some ways, it doesn't feel like my life. We were just together, wedding planning and discussing the honeymoon. The honeymoon was a surprise destination for her, some place that she had always wanted to visit. Now we're here. I don't know where to go or what the future holds. Thanks to everyone again for the support. It means a lot. In the comments, Don't139 says, "She's the same person in her eyes, but not in yours, because you didn't know she was capable of treating you this way. Her stepping out when you were on a break is one thing. It may have been possible to overcome it, but her lying and gaslighting you is recent and is who she is. You cannot trust her to tell you the truth if she thinks a lie would serve her more. That's the kind of person she is, and has proven to be at least twice in this situation. 100% this. Hooking up with a guy on break, even when she promised not to, is one thing, but then continuing to lie about it as she plans a wedding with you and plans to lock you down for the rest of your life is messed up. End of story. Let her go, bro. The success rate of the average marriage is pitiful as it is, and starting off with this much deception and drama and baggage is not likely to end well. Add to that, if you go through with this, whenever you look back on your actual wedding day, it'll be a source of anger for you because you'll think about all of your poor family and friends that had to reschedule and potentially pay for extra flights and hotels. And they will all eventually realize why the wedding had to be rescheduled, and you will look at your lying wife and picture her blowing some dude on vacation. Ew. I wish more people pointed out the fact that she thought Joss deleted the messages. I feel like more had happened. Well, that's the problem with liars. Even if they eventually tell the truth, you can never trust them again. We don't realize how fragile trust is until we have to build it back up again. Yeah, that actually was really weird to me. What do you mean she thought Joss deleted the messages? Bro, the continued lying and obfuscation is mind-boggling. How can you expect to marry someone and genuinely trust them if you pull something like this right before the wedding, or just pull something like this in general? The timing of this makes it 10 times worse for me. I don't know what she was thinking, like, OP's a sucker? OP is just going to ignore the blatant disrespect for him and the relationship right in front of his face? No, that's not someone you should marry. That's not a good idea. Don't even postpone the wedding, like, just break it off at this point. This is too many red flags to commit to a future partnership with. This person is not healthy for you. This is not a good person to marry. Of course, I empathize for OP. That's a tough position to have to tell everyone, look, you've planned for this event. It is a very special event for me. It's hard to say we're postponing it and come again later. I really do feel like the easier thing is to say, you know what? Don't worry about it. It's not happening anymore. I don't want to put you guys through this. As much as it is to say it is easier to do that because it is not an easy thing to do, continuing the relationship and postponing the wedding seems to be the harder thing for me to contend with mentally. I don't think I'd be able to do that. It would break me. Thank you for the story, OP. I wish you nothing but the best in the future. Good luck. Am I the asshole for refusing to recover at home after surgery? I, 29 female, am really disappointed with my husband, 30 male, and furious at his mother, hag-aged female. You're off to a good start, OP. Sorry this is so long, and throw away for privacy. For context, my husband is from the Midwest coast, where his mother still lives. He moved to the East Coast for college, and that's where we met, after graduation. In the start of our relationship, she would visit 3 to 4 times a year and make him take PTO, paid time off, so he could entertain her throughout her visit. After 2 years of this, while we were still dating, I asked him how are we ever meant to go on a vacation together if his paid time off is spent at home with his visiting mother. We agreed to save paid time off for a trip to Europe we took in 2023, and he agreed to tell his mother he couldn't take off from work every time she visited. In my last job, I was able to work from home 4 days a week, and every time she visited, she sulked all day like a puppy who has had her toys taken away. But once my husband came home, a switch flicked, and she was happy and clingy again. So here's the issue now. Husband and I moved states about 6 months ago, closer to my family. I have a new doctor who recommended me for a surgery that my old doctor kept putting off. It's not a complicated procedure, and it will greatly increase my quality of life for decades. My mother-in-law decided that she's due for a visit and wants to explore our new town, and she would come to help around the house while OP recovers. I'm going to be out of surgery and in pain, and I really don't want to put up with her energy. However, we agreed, with my husband, saying that this isn't a sightseeing visit. She's here to help out. Cook, clean, laundry, etc., so that I can rest and recover. She can come for a proper visit later in the year. My husband dropped me off at the hospital on Wednesday. It was meant to be surgery, then 1 night overnight at the hospital for observations. On Thursday, the doctor told me that my labs were not where he'd like them to be, and that I should stay another night for observation and new lab work in the morning. I called my husband, and I told him that I'd hopefully be home the next day over the phone early afternoon. He did not visit on Thursday at all. On Friday, I was discharged and called my husband to tell him that I'd be ready in about an hour. It went straight to voicemail, and I figured that he's probably in a meeting, and I'll try again in a little bit. After calling a few times over the course of an hour, I called my sister, who was lucky enough to be excused from work for the afternoon. Many thanks to her understanding boss. She drove 90 minutes to get me and took me home, and the house was in shambles. Laundry baskets on the dining room table, the litter box not cleaned since Wednesday morning, days of dirty plates in the sink, etc. I just broke down crying. She packed me a bag and took me to her apartment to recover for 2 weeks. On Friday night, my husband called me asking where I am and that the hospital said that I was already discharged. He had been on a hike with his mother and there was no cell phone service, so he missed my calls, which also meant he took paid time off for his mum's visit again. Obviously, I can't ban him from taking paid time off, but wouldn't you rather spend that freed up time with your wife at the hospital instead of on a date with your mum? I told him that I no longer feel comfortable recovering in our house, and I won't be returning until it's thoroughly cleaned and his mother is gone. He's calling me the asshole because his mother just wanted to get to know our new area, and I wasn't able to leave the hospital anyway, and that I was making a big deal out of this. I yelled that he essentially abandoned me at the hospital and instead entertained someone whose being here was to help make recovery easier, not more stressful, and that she was here for support, not on a vacation. Maybe it's just the pain and pain meds, but am I in the wrong here? Is this a stupid hill to die on? There's a part of me telling me to see a divorce lawyer just to see what my options are, because I'm not sure this will ever change. I know this is going to sound incredibly selfish, but I want kids, but I now don't see myself having any with my husband in the foreseeable future. And if this isn't going to work out, I don't want to spend the next 5 years of wasting time and money on therapy and missing a chance to find someone I actually can start a family with. Someone who can be a committed father and husband before he's a son. Many thanks to anyone who has read all of this. In the comments, You Know You're Crazy says, he left you alone in the hospital. He went somewhere without cell service when he knew that you were being discharged. He didn't call you back until that night, hours after you were meant to be discharged. This man is ridiculous, and that is unforgivable. Let his mum have him. You were not overreacting thinking about divorce, and you were definitely not the asshole. This, being unreachable while your wife is in hospital, is despicable, but he must have had missed calls and messages from her because she called him when they wanted to discharge her. Did he not have effing voicemails from her that said, "Hey babe, where are you? They want to discharge me. I need you to come pick me up," and he never called her back. It is despicable and unforgivable. Then the house on top of it. I don't think I could come back from that. He's her next of kin. Who was going to make medical decisions if there had been an emergency or if she required further surgery and couldn't consent? This man isn't worth the carbon that he is made from. I completely agree with those comments. I think that this is next level unforgivable. To just spit in the face of your wife and knowingly abandon her when she was in the hospital. No, that is not the actions of someone that loves you. Those are the actions of someone that hates you and doesn't actually like your presence. He actively chose his own mother over you and your well-being, knowing that you were coming out of the hospital on Friday. He's like, you know what? How about we just do a hike into the middle of nowhere with no cell phone coverage and only come back at Friday night? That's such a good idea. I hate my wife. He's a piece of shit for doing that. He deserves to feel like a piece of shit. I would be telling this story to everyone he knows so that they can't get ahead of the story. They know exactly what he chose to do with his mother and that everyone understands why the divorce is coming and how it is going down. If he's going to start shit like this and expect an amicable breakup, I reckon he's got another thing coming. He deserves to have his reputation scorched earth for this one. That is insane to do that to your wife. Absolutely not the asshole, OP. Who does he think he is, saying that you're an asshole for being in your feelings over this? He has no empathy. Screw that guy. And now, on to the update. Hi all. I posted a month ago about my husband basically abandoning me at the hospital to entertain his visiting mother. I thought I'd post an update. We are done. I'm still at my sister's place, and my boss is letting me work remotely due to the commute. But I have an apartment that I'm moving into in July that's a 10-minute drive from my job. Thank you to everyone who responded. It was a bit overwhelming. I went into defensive mode and thought that I put my husband in a bad light, but you all really slapped the rose-colored glasses off me. We spoke on the phone every day the first week I was away. He asked his mother to leave ASAP so I would feel comfortable coming back home. After a week, I told him I still needed space and I was coming over the next day to grab more things. Once he saw that I had an empty bag and my sister brought 2 empty pieces of luggage, he realized I'm taking a lot because I'm not planning to come back soon. He asked to talk, and I figured that we should get it done and over with. I told him we needed to separate. He tried to argue that his mother only visits a few weeks out of the year and that things are great otherwise. I told him that the issue is that he expects me to be okay during those weeks, with him ignoring my feelings to cater to hers. I said that things don't magically go back to normal once she leaves. There's resentment towards him for weeks for him doing it again and self-hatred for me allowing it to happen again. He asked to go back to couples therapy. I told him that it didn't work last time. We had a great therapist who helped him put boundaries in place and to be able to deliver consequences when his mother overreached. But as soon as she would arrive, she would break one boundary, he would let it pass, and then she had carte blanche to stomp on all of them. And when I tried to reinforce them, I would get no support, and I would be the bad guy. Here is where I may have been a bit mean. I told him that I'm turning 30 this year and that I want to start a family, but I just can't see myself starting one with him. If he can't put me first when I'm just out of surgery, why would I think he'd put our children first? I reminded him that his mother is retiring in less than 10 years. What happens when she's decided that she's frail and lonely? I asked him if he moved in with her, whether I was okay with it or not. He replied, "I'm all she has." It really hit me then. This was not the life that I thought we were building together. It was not the life that I wanted or could settle for. He asked if he was really that bad of a husband. I sort of lied and said, "No, but you're just not the husband that I need." I told him he either needs a wife who's okay with being the side piece in his relationship with his mother, or no wife at all. I left with my sister, and 10 minutes into the ride back to her place, his mother called me. I sent it to voicemail. I started laughing, and my sister asked what was so funny. I said, "The first thing he did was call his mummy and tattle on me for leaving. Papers have been served, and it's been pretty amicable so far. Fingers crossed." In the comments, Fit Law says, "My wife is in the hospital and has poor labs. Gee, I'll just go on a hike with no cell service. I'm sure nothing could go wrong. Like, what the hell was that? I'd want to be within 30 minutes physically of the hospital and phone available 24/7. Even routine surgeries can go wrong." I'm happy that OP left, but I really don't understand how the husband saw no issue in his behavior, and neither did mother-in-law. Guaranteed mother-in-law knew exactly what she was doing. They have a grossly unhealthy relationship where his mother thinks he is her man. Opie is so lucky she didn't have kids with this man. Mother-in-law was moving into their house in 10 years or less. Absolutely, she would have moved into that house, and he would have just done what he always did. Not support OP when they try to establish firm boundaries that they worked on in couples counseling. I agree that separation and divorce are the best in this instance because he's shown he's unwilling to work with OP to carve a better future for themselves where they prioritize each other, because no matter what, he's always going to prioritize his mother, and why would you want to stay married to someone like that? What do you get out of that relationship? And she is correct as well. Why have kids with him? He's not going to respect those kids. He's not going to put the kids first. Whatever grandma wants, grandma's going to get. Kids be damned. I respect her for divorcing him and getting the hell out of there. Go find someone that is not going to waste your time and piss you off like he is, and potentially put your life in danger as well. Oh no, whoa, you had bad labs. Yeah, I'm going to go on this hike anyway. The thing that I promised absolutely not to do because she's here for support, but here's a middle finger to your face. You don't get any support. I'm going to disappear instead. Yeah, middle finger to this relationship. Goodbye. Thank you for the story, OP. Our next post is by user Embarrassing Lemon, and it's titled, Am I the asshole here for telling my fiance that I won't help pay the mortgage? For some background, I, 29 female, and my fiance, 30 male, have been together for 10 years. We had a baby back in 2020, and I lost my job at around the same time. Our lease to the apartment was up, and my grandma offered for us to move in with her, so we did. We basically had our own little apartment rent-free. I had thrown the idea of going to school out there, and everyone agreed that it was a good idea. My fiancé paid for it, and my grandma watched my baby while I went to class. I graduate this semester. I did part-time for a couple semesters. My fiancé has been making $90K a year for the past couple of years, and $70K when we first moved in. He's saved a good amount of money. We agreed to wait to get married until I finished school, and then we could buy a house together. We've been looking at houses more seriously for a past couple of months, and found one that we both love. We started talking to a mortgage broker, and that's when he dropped the bomb on it being him, and only him, on the mortgage indeed. He said I wouldn't have anything to do with it. I didn't say anything in the meeting, but afterwards I told him that I thought we were buying a house together, and I'd pay half the mortgage. He said I would be paying half the mortgage, but my name just wouldn't be on it. So I told him that that would mean that I'd have no right to the house, and he said he knew. He said since he saved the 40% down, that it's only fair that he has the rights to the house in case we end things. I told him if that's what he wants to do, then I'm not paying for the mortgage. I said this isn't a partnership, and if he just wants his own place, that's fine, but I'm not paying for it. He called me a bitch, saying that he paid for everything for the past few years, including my schooling. I told him I stayed home and watched our child, so we didn't have to pay for daycare, and that ended up saving us money, since I would have been only able to work part-time. He said he didn't care, and that I need to pay for half since I already agreed to it. So Reddit, am I the asshole here for refusing to pay the mortgage? Edit to add, originally we were supposed to move in with my grandma for a few months while we saved some money for renting a new place. I thought maybe it'd be a good idea to go to school so that I'd make more money and we could potentially buy a place. My grandma said that we should stay with her until I finish school so that we can save up for a life together. My fiancé and I had agreed that we would be buying a house together. He paid for the schooling because we were getting married, and my student loans would have been our problem, not just mine. He encouraged me to finish my education so we could give our child a better quality of life. Edit 2. For those of you saying him paying for my schooling would be more expensive than rent, my schooling in total costed $17,000. Across 5 years, that's $3,400 a year on average. In the comments, Ogo7 asks, are you still living in your grandma's place rent-free? If so, I'd stay there and start saving for your own down payment. Staying at grandma's could be a great way to get your finances in order without the pressure of this situation. Saving for your own place and building your financial independence could give you more freedom in the future. If OP goes this route, she also needs to file for child support. That can be used towards a home for their child, even though this is not the way that OP had been expecting. And grandmas should be charging him rent for as far back as legally possible. Yeah, what the hell? It's rich of him to live rent-free at someone else's grandma's place and then turn around and go, well, this saved me a crap ton of money to invest in my own home without my partner and the mother of my kids. What an asshole. Why isn't he single and child-free if he doesn't want to share anything? This is most likely not what Granny had in mind when she decided to help out. I agree with that. I think there is quite some audacity of him to pull the wool over everyone's eyes and be like, you know what, I know I agreed to this in the past, but actually, I only agreed to it in a very specific way that's going to benefit me and screw over everyone else. And yeah, I have a 40% deposit down, and you're going to pay essentially 50% of the mortgage over the next 30 years or whatever, but I still retain 100%. Yes, you may contribute 50% to the total value of the house, but it's actually mine. Me. What a selfish loser. Honestly. Absolute loser behavior. He deserves the worst coming his way, and this relationship is not going to work. This engagement is not going to work. Best of luck to him buying a house when he's out on his ass and now has a ton of bills to pay, because he's not going to be living there for long, that's for sure. Not the asshole OP. And now, on to the updates. So first, thank you to everyone who commented. A lot of you had great insight and were very supportive. To those of you who weren't, I got to see a perspective of how my fiancé might be feeling, so thank you for that too. Although some of you were extremely misogynistic. To answer some questions, my grandma offered to give us a place to stay for a few months while I looked for a job, and so we could save money. This was the beginning of lockdown and no one was sure what the job market would look like. I had brought up finishing my degree, and my grandma offered to watch my baby while I was in class. My fiancé said he would pay for it since we didn't have to pay for rent or childcare. He called it an investment in our future. I got a Pell Grant and a scholarship, so he ended up only having to pay on average $3,400 a year for the schooling. If I wasn't going to school, my grandma didn't want us staying there long term. This was purely her trying to give us a leg up and help us in our future. She wouldn't have done so if she knew what my fiancé was going to do. She's said this. For the update, I told my fiancé we needed to talk about this arrangement, and I asked why he changed his mind all of a sudden. He said he worked hard for his money and didn't want to lose everything if we got divorced. I said that was fair, but now he's putting me in a position to lose everything if I have zero rights to the property. He said I didn't save up the money, so the house should be in his and his alone name until and unless I put down 40% also. I asked if he would consider a prenup that would give him the 40% he put down and we'd split 50-50 the rest of the equity. I said this would protect the lump sum he put down while giving me equity that I'd be paying for. He said he'd have to think about it, but he doesn't like the idea of having to sell if we split. I said then he can get his own place that he can afford on his own if he doesn't want me on the title that badly. This one he could barely afford with just his income. Not sure if he'd be approved for the mortgage on his own, to be honest. I also mentioned that I wanted to do couples therapy before we get married. He said no, that we didn't need therapy, and that I just needed to listen to him. That was the end of that conversation. I don't know who this person is. This is not the man that I had a child with. The man I had a child with massaged me every night while I was pregnant. He listened attentively to every random thing that I wanted to talk about. He treated me with the utmost respect. He was the only person I wanted with me while I gave birth. He used to say he could never hurt me or screw me over because it'd hurt our child. I love him so much, and I don't know what happened. In the comments, Arisha Oshun says, I would not marry this man or buy a house with him. Time to set up some co-parenting guidelines and go your separate ways. He showed you who he is. Believe him. Yup, see a lawyer about custody, child support, and get a third-party co-parenting app. Because anyone that says that OP needs to just listen to him won't be the easiest person to co-parent with. Somewhere along the way, maybe he was just the main breadwinner, he just started believing that his voice was the only one that matters, and you can't have a good relationship with that mentality. It's easy to be the breadwinner when you don't have to pay rent or daycare. I wonder if they helped OP's grandma out with utilities and the food bill for the last 4 years. Let him have his house and let the relationship end. He's not talking like a partner. He's talking like an adversary. I wouldn't be shocked if this guy is trying to end the relationship with this stunt. OP, I'm sorry that you're hurting right now. You gave us a completely valid compromise on a prenup. Wouldn't even accept relationship counseling? That's not okay. He wants access to your money, your support system, while giving you no security. You deserve better. Stay with your grandma and start saving for yourself. If the relationship ends, file for child support. Your child deserves to be provided for. OP, you need to run. This can get dangerous very fast. This man is desperately trying to overpower and control every aspect of your life. It starts with it being his house, it's then his money, his child, and you're nothing. I don't want to scare you, but it feels as though he baby-trapped you. Meaning even if you decide to leave him, you'll be tied by the child you share. He doesn't want to do therapy because he's aware of his behavior. He knows what he's doing. The therapist will know his true intentions and expose them. He's trying to gaslight you into thinking that he's not abusive. Please get separate accounts and stay at your grandmother's place until you can get a place away from him. OP says, we do have separate accounts thankfully. He'll have zero access to my money once I start my job in a couple weeks. And now, on to the next update. Thank you to everyone who commented on my last post. You've shown me that I'm not alone in this, and that other people have gone through the same. I also feel vindicated in my decision not to pay half the mortgage if I'm not on the deed. Thank you. Anyways, tonight, he and I got to talking about the arrangement again. He said he didn't want to do the prenup that I mentioned in my last update. So I told him that my final offer was couples counseling and getting married before we buy a house. I told him that we should get a rental temporarily until we figure everything out and come to an agreement. He outright refused again. He said he didn't want to waste money renting. He then said that I'm not entitled to any of his money and he won't buy a house after we marry because I'll just win it in a divorce. I said fine, we won't get married. He asked if I was breaking up with him and I said I didn't know, but I needed space. He lost it. He called me a bitch and a gold digger and told me that I owe him $30,000. I don't know where he got this number from. He said that I'm used up and no one will ever want me again. He went on ranting, yelling at me for about 3 minutes until my grandma came over to us and told him to leave. He's staying the night at a hotel and has called me repeatedly. He's left a few angry voicemails. I feel so numb. My baby is confused and keeps asking why I'm upset and where their dad went. I hate this so much. To everyone who mentioned he might have gotten with the manosphere/red pill content, you were right. I looked at who he subscribed to on YouTube, and sure enough, I saw Joe Rogan, Fresh and Fit Podcast, Just Pearly Things, and Aiden Ross. It's safe to say that he's fallen down the manosphere rabbit hole. I know the man that I fell in love with is gone, and there's nothing I can do about it. There were definitely signs I didn't notice. He always said that he was saving his money and he was buying a house. He also said on more than one occasion he was the man of the house. He got really big on being a provider and protector. I didn't put it all together until now. His behavior change has been pretty recent, like the last 8 to 9 months. That's it. My life is a shit show. Writing it out has been somewhat therapeutic. Thank you all again for your support. In the comments, Bewitching Chick says, keep the voicemails and messages he sends. You may need them. Get ready to go to court for custody and child support. Do not be alone with this man. Edit, Grandma is awesome. If he comes back and is yelling and acting up, call the cops. And props to Grandma for sticking up for you. She is amazing. Yeah, if fiancé is asking for money, remind him that Grandma would want back rent. Your life is not a shit show. Imagine if you moved into that house, paid for a few years, and actually married him. That would be a colossal shit show. I'm so sorry that you're going through this, but you found out before taking these next big steps. You have your degree, family support, and your kid. You'll be fine. Please talk to a good lawyer, custody, child support, and save and document everything. And OP says, thank you. You're right. It could have been a whole hell of a lot worse. And now onto the latest update. I've had a lot of people reach out and ask for an update, so here it is. A few days after my last update, he texted me and asked if we could meet to talk. I agreed, and I left my kid with my grandma and met him at a coffee shop. He started with an apology and went on about how it wasn't him and that he's a good guy and he just drank too much and lost control. He asked me if I wanted to still get married, and I said no. He asked if he could move back in so that we could work on things, and I said no. He even offered to do couples therapy, and I said that I'd have to think about it. He got quiet and asked if I ever even loved him. I said I did, but I can't handle the whole woe is me thing that he's been doing. I said I would have never tried to screw him over in the case of a divorce, and that if I didn't love him, I would have never had a kid with him. I said he needs to do individual therapy before I'd even consider doing couples therapy with him. He got angry and yelled that I needed therapy more than he did, and he refused to do it without me. He got up and said he's going to take me to court and fight for full custody and that I'd never see a dime from him. I'm assuming he meant child support. Since then, he tried dropping by unannounced to take our kid. My grandma's lawyer friend, technically her friend's son, told me that since we don't have a custody arrangement in place, it's a free-for-all, and he could legally take him across state lines. He said it can be much more difficult to get him back, especially if we don't know where he is. So I didn't let him take our kid, but I said that he's welcome to come visit, but he's not leaving with him until we have a custody arrangement in place. That ended about as well as you could imagine. My grandma told me that I can stay as long as I need, and I got my kids signed up for daycare. That's all for now. I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts, but we'll see. In the comments, you need to get a lawyer stat and discuss the situation with the daycare. You don't want him showing up to the daycare and taking your son without you knowing. 100%, I'm hoping we can find an arrangement without courts, but we'll see. OP, this is not an option. This person is too mercurial. You need a lawyer and to ask for parenting classes, all communication through a parenting app, no interstate or international travel, fair visitation for him. It's just too much of a risk to do this outside the court system. Lawyer here, every moment you don't get a lawyer and file for custody, you are risking losing your child. This is far more serious than you are treating it. He could take the child out of state and file for custody in that jurisdiction, and you might never get anything but occasional visitation. Please get a lawyer now. I'm the man of the house, shouts the guy living in his grandma-in-law's house. You're a gold digger, shouts the man who can barely pay for the house he wants and wants OP to pay half of while having no stake. It's funny, the men who complain about gold diggers never have any gold to lose. It's always broke losers. Never men with means. I told an ex-partner's mother, when she accused me of being a gold digger, if I'm digging gold off of your unemployed NEET of a son, then I should turn in my shovel. She never did like me for some reason. And it's good that we get these stories out here so that we can start telling people what the warning signs of loser behavior are. Ladies, please, if he starts spouting manosphere bullshit, you need to run for the hills. You need to get away from that. I know it's like so cliche and overdone and being like, ugh, manosphere, can that just like die out already? But it's like, look at the amount of relationships that it's destroying. Something that should be fairly set in stone. He benefits so much off of the living situation that the grandma generously agreed to. She didn't have to do that, but he got so much out of it, and suddenly he got too big for his boots because he started taking in all of this bullshit propaganda online. And look at the outcome. He had a daughter, he set his life on fire, he destroyed what would have been a great relationship to build together. For what? For nothing. He got propagandized. And you can't win in a situation like that. You just have to recognize the signs and recognize when to cut your losses. Thank you for the story, OP. I hope nothing but the best for you going forward. I found out that my fiance's dad died last month. No one told us, and she missed the funeral. Hi. I don't even really know how to start this or what I'm asking exactly. I guess I just want to understand what happened and maybe get some advice on how to help my fiance deal with this, because it's just a lot. And I think she's starting to blame herself, which she really shouldn't. So I proposed to my fiance back in March. Her dad was the only person I talked to beforehand. I asked for his blessing, and he was super kind about it. I only met him a couple of times before that, but we had a good conversation, and I could tell he really loved her. The thing is, I only met his wife, her stepmom, once that same day. It was brief and polite, but that's it. Everything else about our engagement planning and updates was through her dad. Her dad has another kid with a stepmom, a teenage son who is 17. My fiancé always kind of kept some distance from that part of her dad's life. It wasn't like she hated them or anything. It's just that they weren't close. Her dad would check in, sometimes visit her on his own, but it's always kind of felt like he had two separate families. I never really thought too hard about it. It just was what it was. Then in April, while we were starting to figure out the engagement party and save the dates and all of that, he passed away. We didn't even know. We didn't hear anything from anyone. No call, no text, not even a weird silence. Nothing. We only found out this week because one of her cousins posted something online about missing him after the funeral, and my fiancé texted them like, "What do you mean the funeral?" And they were like, "Everyone was surprised that you didn't show." She just shut down. I think she's still in shock. Her dad is gone, and she didn't get to say goodbye. She didn't even get told that he was dead. The funeral already happened. She missed it, and no one told her. Not her stepmom, not even her own brother, not anyone. And what makes it worse is that now she's tried to reach out to people, like cousins, her aunt, even her dad's friend. She keeps getting these weird half responses that make her feel like she should have known or been there. Like they're judging her for not showing up when nobody invited her in the first place. She keeps asking me if she did something wrong. She's wondering if her dad was mad at her. I do think he was happy for us, but now I don't even know what's true anymore. I guess I just don't understand how something like this happens. I know grief makes people act strange, and there might be stuff we don't know. I don't want to assume the worst about her stepmom. Maybe she was overwhelmed or didn't have our contact info, though I feel like she must have had some way to reach out. But I also don't want to make excuses for someone who let my fiancé find out that her dad died a month later from a Facebook post. It's starting to feel uncomfortably close to full-on evil stepmom territory, and I hate even thinking that, but this just feels so cold. She's devastated, and I don't know what I'm supposed to say or do. I can't fix it. She just keeps saying that she can't believe she wasn't there, that she wasn't even given the chance, and I'm angry too. But mostly I just feel helpless and sad for her. I guess what I'm really asking is, how do I help my fiancé grieve someone that she didn't even get the chance to say goodbye to? She keeps wondering if her dad was upset with her or if she missed some sign, and now the way that her family is reacting is only making her feel worse. I want to support her without making her feel like she has to perform grief on anyone else's timeline or carry blame for something that was never her fault. In the comments, Unique Assumption says, "I am so sorry for what you both are going through. That is absolutely heartbreaking she wasn't told, and frankly, unforgivable in my book. She deserves the chance to say goodbye. The best thing you can do is support her. Maybe try to figure out if he was buried, and if so, maybe try to visit the grave so that she can have some form of closure. If he was cremated, maybe still plan something for her to be able to celebrate him and say goodbye in her own way. Either way, this situation is super fucked up, and she did nothing wrong. The family is seriously messed up for not telling her." OP says, "Thank you so much for saying this. It really means a lot right now. I think hearing someone else call it what it is, unforgivable, helps validate what she's feeling, even though I know that she's still trying to find some reason for why it happened. We've talked about trying to find out where he was buried, but it's so hard to even know where to start when no one is talking to her. I think you're right though. She needs a way to say goodbye, whatever that ends up looking like. I just don't want her carrying this weight like she did something wrong, because she didn't." Unique Assumption replies, 100%. You and her are totally validated in how you feel. This is seriously next level wrong of the family. I wish you both healing, and I really hope she's able to find some way to say goodbye. And I'm sure it's impossible for her to see right now, but she didn't do anything wrong, and may just need to be reminded of that for a bit. Someone else says, "There is a chance that she wasn't informed because of something the stepmom wanted that wasn't left to her or over the division of assets. Check into his will and see, because apart from just being a sack of shit, that's the only reason I can think of for doing this to her." OP says, "Yeah, that's definitely crossed our minds too. We're not even sure if there was a will, and my fiancé hasn't been told anything about his estate. It's hard to know if this was just emotional distance or if something more intentional was going on. Right now, we're focusing on finding her some peace, but we'll keep that in mind in case anything starts to feel off." Back up to the post. Mini update. I found out where her dad is buried and got contact info for who I think is her half-brother. When I showed her the profile to confirm, she shut down and panicked, but it did confirm for me that it's definitely him. She doesn't want to reach out right now, but I might. I'm gonna need some more information for this one. I just don't believe that no one at all, at any point in time, all collectively chose not to reach out to her. The math ain't mathing. It doesn't make sense. There has to be more to this story. I think she has done something for this to happen. It's one of those scenarios where if everywhere you walk smells like shit, maybe check under your shoe. This is some stranger than fiction kind of shit because I have never heard of an instance like this before. And because of that, it's hard to believe that it's not her fault for doing this. My initial thoughts were the stepmother has poisoned the well and turned everyone against her, but there's no magic power in reality that's strong enough to get an entire community banded together in such a short amount of time to all collectively stonewall the news of a father's passing from that father's child. It's just not a thing. So yeah, I want to know what the hell she's done. And now, onto the update. I contacted her brother. Did I do good? We finally found out where her dad was buried, and I managed to get in touch with her half-brother. When I showed her who I thought it was, she panicked and didn't want anything to do with it. She still doesn't know that I went ahead and talked to him. To be honest, I expected lies or deflection, but what I got was just more frustrating. He was not defensive, just cryptic. He said he knows exactly why her side of the family cut her off, and that she knows too. He wouldn't tell me what it was, and just kept saying that I should ask her because I wouldn't believe him anyway. Then he added sarcastically that if she's even capable of telling me the truth, I would already know. He did say that he'd tried calling and texting her after their dad passed, but she has him blocked on everything. He also said he tried to make sure she was included, but she made it clear a long time ago that she wanted nothing to do with him. He knows that she has always hated him just for existing. He ended the conversation by saying that he was calling her bluff, that she does not really want anything to do with her dad's side of the family. He even asked, did she ever say she was inviting any of them to the wedding? That part stung a little. I will not pretend to know the full story, but I'm starting to feel like this is not a case of one person being awful. It feels more like years of silence and resentment that turned into something cruel. We did get some clarity on the legal side. There probably will not be a fight with the stepmom. The brother told me everything that is needed. We are working with a lawyer, but it will take time. The executor has up to 2 years before probate has to start. Even then, anything she may be entitled to would be split evenly with him and only applies to accounts that were solely in her father's name. We are not expecting anything substantial, but she deserves to know that she was not forgotten. Since real closure is out of reach, we're creating our own. Someone suggested planting a memorial tree. We loved that idea. We're currently looking for a good starter tree, and she's going to write her father a letter to bury under it. It's not a solution, but it's something real and peaceful she can hold on to. There probably will not be another update. I'm realizing that trying to untangle her family's damage might only hurt our relationship. If I want a healthy marriage, I need to protect her peace more than I need to win a fight that was lost a long time ago. In the comments, Daxy Dream says, "Look, it's pretty telling that nobody told your fiancé about his death. She has aunts, uncles, and cousins, right? Are they all blocked too? Or is there actually a good reason why they didn't contact your fiancé? I suspect you won't have a peaceful marriage when she's been so secretive, and it's pretty obvious that the rest of the family is not on her side." Yup. You mean to tell me that no one from her family could reach out to her or wanted to? Either her entire family and extended family are all assholes, or the wife is the asshole. The latter seems more likely. It sounds like there is her story, their story, and the truth. I don't think you know the truth. I think your fiancé has been selective over what she has told you. That whole shutdown and panicking when you found her half-brother's profile tells me that there is more to this than she has told you. I would want the entire truth before you commit to marriage. Make sure you know who she is and that there are no masks in place. If there is no will, then his wife is actually entitled to everything he owns. If there is a will, then she would only inherit what is specified. Unless she contests the will, his state of mind, can prove that he was manipulated, etc., it's expensive, and chances are she will lose. Why a memorial if she was cut off by her father, or if she cut her father off? And this is OP's comments on the update. They're mostly along the same lines. OP says, "Yeah, it sounds dramatic because it is. But from what I can tell, she was the one who went no contact, not them." The brother's words felt very carefully chosen, almost like he wanted to stir things up without actually saying anything. The whole "she knows why" line just adds fuel without giving clarity. I get how it all looks, but right now, my priority is supporting her while she grieves. When she's ready to talk, I'll be ready to listen. And now, onto the final update. I've taken time to process everything before writing this because I wanted to be clear-headed and fair. This isn't just about a relationship ending, it's about recognizing how far I'd strayed from myself and what I allowed in the name of love, patience, and hope. After the engagement ended, she moved in with a friend from work, but by then, things had already been unraveling for a while. I had believed that I was being supportive and compassionate, giving her time to grieve and space to share on her own terms. But the truth was, I was being emotionally manipulated. She pretended to want to reconcile with her brother after hearing about her father's death. At the time, it felt like a breakthrough. I thought she was softening, maybe healing, but that was just a performance to win sympathy and deflect hard questions. The more I learned, the clearer it became that she had no real interest in reconnecting, only in looking like the victim. What's hard to admit is how many times she manipulated me subtly, shaping narratives and using silence or emotional withdrawal to make me prioritize her even over lifelong friends and family. I now see how isolated I became. One friend that I reconnected with after everything joked, "You didn't date her. You ran her PR campaign." It hit harder than I expected because in some ways, it felt true. There were moments where I wasn't just supporting her, I was constantly explaining basic respect, empathy, and how to show up in a relationship. It started to feel less like a partnership and more like I was trying to teach someone how to be a decent person. That kind of emotional labor takes a toll, and looking back, I can see how much of myself I lost in the process. I had to reach out to her brother initially to confront him, but his response was surprisingly calm and cryptic even. After the breakup, I spoke to him again, and this time he told me the truth. The family had cut her off because of repeated abusive outbursts, not just towards her father, but also towards her stepmother and brother. He said that I wouldn't have seen it because she saved that side of herself for them. He even brought her father's old phone. The texts between her and her dad were awful, cruel, manipulative, and downright abusive. Honestly, I don't even know how or why her dad stayed in contact with her after receiving the things that she wrote. If my own child ever said those things to me, I would have cried and cut contact. No parent deserves that level of cruelty. After her father passed, she started lashing out at me too. That's when the pattern revealed itself. Ironically, she didn't even mind that I spoke to her brother until she found out that I helped him with a scholarship site. And help is a stretch. I mentioned the Common App, something that I always bring up when college comes up in conversation. It's not some special effort. I've told my own cousins the same thing. It's a single application site that makes you sound like you know your stuff and gets kids on track fast. If they apply through it, they're pretty much guaranteed to get into somewhere. She knew this. She had seen me do it with my family, but this time she twisted it in a betrayal like I had committed some criminal offense. She realized I had spoken to her brother because I showed her a Reddit post to help her understand where I was coming from. That is when everything shifted. And even then, I didn't end things immediately. I asked if we could slow down and delay the wedding. Instead of meeting me with honesty or reflection, she shut down and turned hostile. Maybe it was her way of pushing me away, but if so, it worked. After the breakup, she kept reaching out and apologizing, saying she would get help. But I had already asked her to consider therapy earlier in our relationship, and she refused every time. Now that everything has come to light, I can't see myself marrying her, much less raising a child with someone who hides so much, lashes out when cornered, and only offers change when everything is already broken. My family has been nothing but supportive throughout all of this. My sister is even staying with me right now. She joked that it's for my protection, but honestly, it just feels good to have family around again. For the first time in a while, I feel like myself. So that's it. No more what ifs or excuses, just the truth and a fresh start. There won't be any more updates, as this account serves no purpose anymore. In the comments, Dryaduinth says, "Yep. I mean, this makes sense with everything that came before. Her behavior, her relationships, it makes sense to me for her to have been the instigator more than the victim. The dad loving her but not bringing his wife and son around, the relatives hinting at blame her for not being at the funeral, probably knowing full well that she blocked the people who tried to notify her, the cryptic brother not saying anything specific, the panic and refusing to talk about it makes sense to me. Even her devastation makes sense. Anyone would be devastated. But also, abusers love to feel sorry for themselves. If your partner grows to loathe the people who know your past, great. Makes them easier to manipulate." Someone else says, "I feel the same. In the initial post and the first follow-up, it felt like something OP didn't know. It felt like there was something to her behavior that he either didn't know or had been manipulated into overlooking. Really sad for OP. Not surprised at all. I could maybe believe the evil stepmother angle if it was just the stepmother and half-brother involved, but knowing literally no one reached out to her, including aunts, uncles, and cousins, that was so fishy. Like even my maternal grandparents, who were the black sheep amongst their extended families, each had at least one sibling who would keep them informed. Better for OP to figure this all out before marriage and kids. One final act from beyond the grave from her father. Getting OP to wake up. And honestly, what a bullet dodged. That is not someone that you should be marrying if they're able to keep up such a charade for so long and then gaslight and manipulate you to plant themselves solely as the victim in this situation. And I was wondering why when the brother said, "If I told you the truth, you wouldn't believe me," I was like, why wouldn't I hear him out? Why would I not believe what he has to say if it is to be the truth? And yeah, now I understand. She has manipulated the narrative for so long that it would be so hard in that moment of time to see her as an evil, abusive person because she has not revealed that side of her. Thank you for sharing your story, OP. I hope nothing but the best going forward, and I hope that you find someone that actually values you, for you, and doesn't manipulate and gaslight you.